Paul, you're the first one.
Sharing the Facebooks. Come in. Hello, Paul. Paul. Anybody else? Say hi. Okay. Everything's working. Put our faces on the screen.
Good.
Hello, everybody. Todd's here
Hello.
too. What up, Todd?
Welcome to Movie Phone.
Right. Yeah,
Veronica,
Paul
you're
from
probably
Day
too young
One
for that.
Brothers.
Yeah.
That's right. Paul has been here since the beginning.
Yep.
Pretty sure he's heard every episode or close to it.
Impressive.
At least been here since then. Maybe not every episode. It's hard to listen to every episode.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah, some of them are really boring.
Good.
Also
Fair
depends
enough.
when you're jumping in. How many hundreds do you have to catch up on to
Right.
hear them all?
Right, absolutely.
And it's
right
like-
now it'd be 281.
Yeah.
Times
Almost 300.
200.
I know.
Or 2 to 2.5 hours each. It's like a month of listening or more. Almost 2
Yeah.
months.
Yeah. What had when will we hit our 300th episode?
I
October?
believe it's going to
Or
be
September?
Oh, when did I say it was going to be? I think it's right.
I think it
before
was
my
around
birthday.
Camp Mograph or
I
something.
think it's right after
that you were saying.
But, you know, it depends on if we subtract or add an episode here or there. It's kind of hard to say. So we got some days off that we're actually going to do. Get a real summer vacation in, you know.
Going on vacation.
Yeah. Cool.
Do you guys
cool.
have any plans for the 300th? Maybe some confetti popping?
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know.
It's like it's going to be such a busy year. I think it's going to be hard to plan the 300. I'm sure it will be
Yeah.
like EJ and David.
Or
you
yeah.
know.
Yeah, that's normally what we do. We just
but
have them on the show. We'll
I
do a
don't-
call-in show like we normally do.
Yeah, I don't know if we'll do like clips or anything because we had a really big clip show for.
Yeah.
When was that 200? Was it that long ago already?
No, that had to have been 250 or something. I don't remember. Maybe it was,
Was it
200.
Oh my gosh, man, time
Jeez.
flies. All right,
Yeah, it does.
I think we are all set. I'm gonna go ahead and start recording, and so if
I
y'all want
will
to start
start.
recording too, I'm gonna
Test 1 2 1 2.
check. I am rolling,
I love this new mic stand. It's nice.
and the mic.
Yeah, and the mic
Dope
too.
Mic. All right, is everybody rolling?
Yep.
All right, we're gonna do a sync clap, which is gonna be 1 2 3 clap. All right. Here we go. 1 2 3. Awesome. That is good. And
Now I'm really worried that I did
Oh.
that too slowly.
no, you're
That
fine.
hello just popped up on my thing that you wrote. It just popped up. It did. It popped up over your face.
Over my face?
Oh yeah, over the whole
Just
thing.
now? The one I wrote
just
like
now.
15 minutes ago?
Yep,
I
totally.
love Skype. That's so great. Here's a giant link over this person's face.
Yep.
This giant link is over the person's face. We made sure to put it over the face. Cool. Well, can I click on it? No.
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 Not at all.
And here's a 15-minute delayed chat. You're welcome.
All right.
All right. Here we go.
All right.
Is my phone muted? Yes. Okay. Here we go. What's up and welcome to another Mograph Mocast. I'm Dave.
And I'm Matt, and joining us today is the super talented Veronica Falconieri Hays.
Hello.
And Mograph is a supplement to our site, mograph.com, which is a motion graphics tutorial site with tutorials, plugins, podcasts, and other Mograph stuff. On the show, we talk about everything ranging from motion graphics to Cinema 4D, After Effects, plugins, render engines, doing business, doing taxes, being a contractor, or working for the man. You can email us info@mograph.com. Let us know what you think about the show. Questions, comments, concerns, queries, grievances, show topic ideas, artist suggestions. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, mograph.com. Check us out on all the things. And if you got a question that's super noob, we don't care. Send it over. If you got a question that's super advanced, we don't care. We'll pretend we know the answer.
That's more than likely the case.
Yeah,
That could be more than likely the case with the noob questions as well.
that's right.
Yep.
Yeah, we have an email from Jack who sent us some questions and things, but it's about NFTs, so we'll talk about that in the NFT section today for sure. We'll read it and discuss. And we don't have a lot to talk about, really, besides the fact in the week wrap-up that the Houdini course has been updated. Ooh, and the Marvels. You got the Marvels.
Yeah, did you add that? Did you add that?
Yeah, I did.
Okay,
we have the 18.5 Houdini update to the Stop Being Afraid of Houdini course. Mark has put in so much time on this. He spent 150-something hours recording all new content. He's updated content. He's added things. Like, it's pretty incredible. You go in there, there's stuff on procedural modeling. You can procedurally model a coffee cup now.
Oh, rock on.
There's a lot of stuff on render engines, Mantra, Solaris, and, of course, Octane. There's a lot of Octane stuff in here now that there wasn't before. It shows you how to install Octane, run Octane. There's some other Octane-y things in there. So, of course, Redshift was there to begin with. It's still there. The great part about this is if you were already an existing Stop Being Afraid of Houdini student, you now have the class. We sent out
Totally
an email.
free.
You've got the update. So now you've got 2 classes if you go look at your classes, because we didn't want to ruin like everybody's progress that they have on their other one where you could see what you've done. And we didn't want to make it complicated and hard to figure out. So it's one of those things where now if you want to get into the 18.5 stuff or you're just starting, you can go check out just those, or you can start over from scratch if you want. Because some of the things that are in there say updated or say new. However, for the most part, most of these videos are updated for the new interface and things. Some of it's just little updates, and we didn't put an updated tag on, 10 seconds of updated something.
Right.
It's just this like the major things. So make sure you check that out. You've got that now, and if you're going to buy the course from this point on, that's the version that you're going to get. I gotta thank Mark for doing that, putting in all the extra time, especially at the last second. I gotta give Pickle Nick a shout out for making this happen. We had a lot of edit issues, and he was able to just take this thing and just like kill it.
Yeah, he's a rock star.
Like 40-something hours worth of content editing in like 2 weeks. It's pretty phenomenal. And Jeremy, he put the stuff together on the course site. So thank you everybody for your hard work. It's really hard for someone like me to let go of certain tasks.
Yeah, it is very hard for Dave to let go.
I like to QC all these things. I like to make sure everything's done right. There's a reason for it. The reason is if I delegate it to the wrong person, it might not get done correctly, and that's exactly what happened.
That's what happened the first time.
Yes. So it's all about delegating is all about finding those people that you can trust to get stuff done. And not everybody has the same strengths and qualities and things. And if you can find the right people, it's really great to just be able to sit back and say, look, everybody's doing what they got to do. I will say that I love Notion for this, because when we're doing these giant projects and putting all this information in giant databases, there's 2 things that you can do when it comes to notifications on Notion. And one of those things is that you can have somebody at you or directly ask you a question or comment or something, and then you answer them. But you also get notifications for things that you're quote unquote following. And as somebody who is trying to manage more than one project, it is so nice to be able to look at stuff I'm following, see that other people are working on things, other people are hashing out problems together, and I can passively read it, and I don't have to get involved and make everybody's life more difficult and be like, what is the issue? I just watch them take care of it. They know what they're doing. Yep. They're good. They're awesome.
Cool.
Mark's in the chat right now. Jeremy's in the chat right now. Wonder if Pickle Nick's listening.
I don't know. Probably not. He's like, I already hear enough of y'all's voice.
Yeah, right.
Jeff Burns in the chat was asking about Camp Mograph.
Yeah.
Just a reminder that Camp Mograph tickets go on sale June 1st.
Ooh-wee.
It is happening this year. Super exciting. It's September 9th through the 12th in Portland, Oregon. So you can go to campmograph.com, check out the details on that. We got some great fireside chat speakers. We got TJ Kearney, Hazel Baird, and Beeple. We've confirmed with Beeple several times, so this is gonna be killer. We booked him before he became super famous.
Yeah. Don't tell anybody he's coming.
Yeah. Don't tell anyone.
Tell anybody.
Yeah. We don't need like angel investors and stuff like that coming
We
to
don't
the
need them
the
at
camp.
camp. They can go
But
hang out somewhere else.
Yeah, let's keep it the designers.
Let's stay with the
But
artists,
tickets do go on sale June 1st. Check out campmograph.com for all the details. Want to give a shout out to all of our amazing sponsors for that, because without them, the ticket prices would be astronomical. They help keep the prices down and keep it affordable. I mean, 3.5 day, vacation, all expenses, or all inclusive. That's what it is. And all because of these amazing sponsors. So first off, we've got Maxon, we've got Video Copilot, and we've got Otoy, as well as our gold sponsors, Minimal Massive, the local Portland, Oregon studio, and Grayscale Gorilla, and then also our bronze sponsors, A Scripts and School of Motion. If you're going to Camp Mograph, give them a shout out and tell them thank you for helping keep the price of tickets down.
Yeah.
So June 1st, make sure and check it out. If you're planning on getting a Treehouse one, I would get there exactly when it goes on sales, because we had some pre-sales for the previous camps alumni, and a lot of those got taken up. So we've only got a handful of them left. So you want to get in as soon ASAP.
And if you don't, you get something else. All right, we're all gonna be together.
Honestly, I'm sleeping in the adventure village, which is the Video Copilot village, and those are like the more rustic cabiny ones, but they've all got heating. They've all got it's not gonna be bad.
Cold as last year.
It's not as cold as last year. Yeah, and it's in
September.
September in Portland is gonna be incredible. Yeah. I'm so excited for that.
Thinking about maybe we might RV up there, but it's a long trek. I'm realizing that it's like 34 hours of driving just in a normal truck or car. Yeah. That's not an RV that's going slower than usual, and you have to stop a lot. So I don't know. We'll see. It's a long journey, and then a long journey back at the end. I don't know.
You should just fly. I
might just fly. Here's the thing. It's like $4,000 to keep the RV for that long. So it's like...
Yeah, you don't want to do that. Just fly.
Yeah. And how much is the gas for it?
Yeah, and the gas.
Right?
It's like... Yeah, unless we can buy an RV in that time. But I don't know. I don't know.
We'll work on that.
Yeah. We were just talking about the logistics of it, and it sounds like such a fun thing. We'll stop at the Grand Canyon and we'll do it. But it's like 2 weeks.
Then you got to go
driving.
like a week. Yeah.
If you stretch it out long enough, but
you're talking like a month, almost a month.
Show us your comic book, by the by.
Oh yeah. So in other Mograph news, you may not know why this is Mograph news, but this is the new Alex Ross comic book called The Marvels. Here, and let me take it out of the sleeve so that y'all can see. For anyone who has been following Otoy, Alex Ross and Jules Urbach are friends, and he turned Jules into an actual character, which is amazing.
Yeah.
It's a character named Kashum.
And I tried to get a copy, and I couldn't. They're all sold out, all the comic book stores. Yeah.
I went to my local comic book store, and I was like, I need the Marvels. Do you guys have it? Even though I had already pre-ordered a couple of them. I wanted to pre-order like 2 of them from an online comic book place so that I could I wanted one. I want Jules to sign one of them for me, because I think that'd be cool,
Yeah.
And I wanted one that I could take out of the package and actually read, not worry about getting it all dirtied up and stuff.
I wonder if he could get it to
Alex Ross. That'd be awesome. Yeah. I'll ask him.
Hey,
I'll ask him next time.
A question for you with camp. Dave Glantz is asking, what are the COVID protocols for camp? Do you have that posted? Are you still working on that?
We're still working on that as of right now. So with the camp, and the reason we know that it's happening is because the emergency protocols, or whatever the high, medium, low levels
for Portland, Portland's really high right now, and that's the problem.
Right. Well, so the thing is, even with those protocols, we want to keep the camp super intimate and super small. so we're not jam packing people full of, the camp can hold 400 people in it, but we want to keep it small. We want to keep it intimate. That's the whole idea behind it. That's why we also picked up all the sponsors so that they can help cover the overhead costs and stuff, because we have to pay for all the people in order to rent out the whole camp.
Got to pay for 400 people to get.
We got to pay for 400 people.
Yeah.
But we're only putting 125 total, and that includes all the sponsor people, all the staff. That includes all the people coming in. So only 125 people. So everyone will be separated bunk wise. Like you've got a divider, in between you, and you don't have to. I mean, you can pick top bunk, bottom bunk, whatever you want to do, but you've got a whole section by yourself, which is great. Outside, I'm assuming, I don't know. I would assume you wouldn't need to worry too much, because I think the CDC just recently came and said, outdoor, the possibility of catching it outdoors is minimal, but we'll have to see.
We'll have protocols in place, and we've been talking a lot about protocols when it comes to like when you're around somebody, whether or not, how whether or not they're like super, like, I don't know, they need like super bubble around them as far as COVID, or if they're like, no, we can hug it out, or or
I want to do
outside,
like a pin or something,
or a colored lanyard.
Yeah, colored lanyard. Yeah, that'd be cool.
You just you got to know how people feel about it. There's like some people that don't want to be, that want like the super distance. Some people are kind of the middle ground. Like, I'll wear a mask, but we can, like, if we're outside, I won't wear a mask. And then there's some people that like. There's some people that like they want to hug or they don't, and I think that's the big thing, because we haven't seen each other in so long. It's going to be so tempting to be like, "Oh my gosh," and big old hug, but you just got to fight that.
Yeah, I was the babysitter that we have, she came over and watched our kids over the weekend, so me and my wife could go on a date, and she's a friend of mine. She was like basically our nanny for 6 months. We became friends, and she's moving, so we gave each other big hugs this weekend when she was leaving, and I was like, wow, this is like the first like non-wife hug that I've had from anyone, in probably a year and a half. It's hilarious, Yeah,
we're just starting to get those here too. Like, people are starting to get like fully vaccinated, and we're like, oh my gosh, we can see you now. Yes.
Right.
Yeah. See, I'm fully vaccinated. It's been the 2 weeks, or more since, so I'm not too worried about things. Hug me all you want, lick my face. I'm cool with that. Whatever.
There's other things though. It's like there's everything up in the air about, can you still transmit it? All of these things. So you still have to be. It's like, even if you're vaccinated, well, other people might not be vaccinated. So you really have to be careful about that. You still and you're hearing about other strains. There's so much. It's so much. It's very easy to just be like, oh, COVID's gone. Yeah. But
welcome to Texas.
It's
That's
not.
Texas.
I mean, it's easy to act like that, but it doesn't make it true.
There's definitely reason to be optimistic, though.
Yes, for sure.
The data's looking promising, even if they haven't got it all ironed out yet.
It's the stuff going on with the new strains in India that I'm keeping my eye on right now. 320,000 cases a day.
There's a lot of people in India. Keep that in
there are a lot of people.
True, but it just makes me wonder, hopefully, I mean, that even though it's in India, it's not like it can't, go other places.
Oh yeah, it's probably already here.
Yeah, I think it is. And I think that might be why Portland in particular is pretty bad. A lot of the states that ended up being ports, to international flights and things, that's where it starts. So fully keeping an eye on the situation, though, and making sure, because we want to make sure that once the drop date for the tickets happen, that there won't be any changes after that. And
here's one thing I will say for anyone who is purchasing a ticket. If you purchase a ticket, you don't have to worry about us like running off and stealing all your money or anything like that, because, well, I mean, not that we would, but Eventbrite is also like covering, they're making they're not paying out events until after the event happens. you
Right.
know, which another amazing thing why we've got the sponsors is because, you know, we got to
Right.
cover all those costs up front,
Right.
you know.
So your
But
your ticket
so if
ticket
you
money
need
is in
if
holding.
you need a refund, yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's being held by Eventbrite, so
Right.
you're good.
So you get that.
I just checked the vaccination population of the U.S. We just hit 48% has gotten their
Awesome.
first, you know, shot, that's great. That's great.
Yeah.
You know, hopefully by that point we'll be hit herd immunity. Please, please, please.
Yeah.
Right.
So you can check out all the info
But-
for that, campmograph.com, including the dates
Yeah.
and everything, and we will keep you updated.
We may be announcing some of the teachers next week. I need to talk
Cool.
to Mark, and we need to get those up, you know, because we've
Cool.
had a few people add and a few people drop, but it's gonna be
Right.
it's gonna be killer. It's gonna be super cool.
Yeah.
Yep.
Speaking of medical things, we like that.
Speaking
we like
of
the
medical
segue.
things,
Yeah.
yeah, that was good. I like that.
Yeah. Let's talk about you now, because honestly, we don't have much more to talk about. We've been so busy. I have like one
Mhm.
link today. We barely have any stuff for the drop later, so we're gonna get
Mhm.
into it, and we're gonna talk about
Yeah,
medical
Veronica,
animation.
we're really leaning on you in
Yeah,
order
yeah.
to fill all
No
the
Carry the
pressure.
full
show.
show.
Yeah.
All right.
Let's start from the beginning, which we like to do every week. Let's start from the beginning, and we met you on the 3D Motion show.
Mhm.
Yep.
Was that? It wasn't recently. It was like last year.
It was
maybe.
last year. It was
Yeah.
the like the pandemic just got bad. Everything was canceled, and all of a sudden we were online.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So 2020, yeah, I was getting really excited for that because I'd never actually been to an NAB. So I was like, yeah, I'm gonna go out, see what this is all about. And then of course COVID happened, and all my dreams came crashing down around me, and I was just on Zoom calls. And that was that.
Yeah. They should get you. They should get you for the one in October. You know,
Mhm.
that'd be cool. That'd be cool. Or at least come hang out with us in October at the NAB show.
Yeah.
You know.
IRL.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Well, now the ground game has changed because now we've got the 3-month-old at home. So
That's true.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't want to bring a 3-month-old to Vegas? Come on, they'll be like 8 months old by then.
yeah, that's totally age appropriate.
Right. Just fill them with the
Start 'em young.
smoke-filled air. Yeah.
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 I'm like, future years though, I'm gonna get out there because I also had this whole like Grand Canyon trip planned. I'm like, okay, we'll go to Vegas, and I'm gonna finally get to see the Grand Canyon. It's gonna be great.
It's
So I'm
cool.
this, East Coast person. All the geography I see, all the cool things I see are just very small. I needed to go out there and see big things.
Totally.
Well, that would
Totally.
be Grand Canyon would be something good to see right now, because you don't have to like be around people, so that would be
Yeah.
relatively safe. You could at least go. That's the thing right now. All you can do to go on vacation is like hop in an RV. It feels like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I mean, planes aren't that bad. I've flown once. We're gonna
feel like-
fly in July too.
Yeah, it doesn't matter really what the science is. I feel like I would just feel really nervous because you're just in this tin can with all these people, and
Yeah.
like, no matter what they tell me, I'm like gonna be like, I'm in a tin can with all these people. I don't trust
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
mhm, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
That's
the
my
thing is,
biggest thing.
it's interesting like the mental games. It's almost like we've been,
Conditioned.
for the past year. Yeah, for the past year, it's like, don't go out. Just like, and I don't want to say
It's
fear
your
mongering
inner
or whatever,
Alex
but
Jones
it's like,
coming out on this.
saying, be careful, be careful, be careful, be careful, be careful. And then I get fully vaccinated. And part of me, like, there's just the smallest part of me that's like, dude, you're okay. But the rest of me is like, no, be careful, be careful, be careful, be careful.
They're conditioning
Right.
you. It's
Yeah.
the government conditioning you. Wake up, sheeple.
So I don't know. It's interesting. It's interesting trying to like convince yourself that you more than likely will be all right.
Yeah.
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 So
And then it's like also like it's another level. I'm like, okay, like my risk is, low. I'm like partially vaccinated. I'll be fully vaccinated soon. But now I have to like also think about, the small human, like what's their risk because they can't get
Yeah.
vaccinated yet and
uh-huh.
all that. So it's just evolving risk scenarios. Like every day I'm like, okay, how has it changed? Is it different? Can I change my behavior?
Hmm.
It's a lot of mental load.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah. It's too much for one person.
But to go back
Yeah.
to you and your
Yeah.
and your
Yeah.
background, so let's start from the beginning. And how did you get into this? Because I know a lot of people who are interested in medical animation are going to be like, well, what is the flow of this? How do I even? work my way up the chain to do this kind of thing, because it's not just like learning about Mograph and like, sweet, I'm doing medical. It's not that easy. And I know a lot of people have talked about this before, or at least asked the question. And we've had a couple medical animators on before, and it's always an interesting journey to that.
I would say, everybody comes from their own kind of unique pathway to get into medical animation. And usually it's kind of through the traditional medical illustration pathway, or most of the folks that I know and are like my closest colleagues. So for myself, I was always interested in biology and art. So like I remember being in like high school, they're like, oh, where are you going to go to college? I'm like, well, I should have some idea what I'm going to do, but I like both science and art. Like, what do you do with that? And I was just lucky that I heard about medical illustration at that stage. And I was like, oh, there's this career. I can take both of them, put them together. So I went to college, was a bio major and an art minor, actually. So I was actually always a bit more of a science strong person, I would say. I did like lab research in undergrad. Like I, considered doing like an academic science career path instead of medical illustration for a hot second. And then I realized that would kind of suck. So then I went to do medical illustration. Just because, academic science is like a really demanding field. And now that I work a lot with people who are in that field, I'm so glad I didn't do it. But like, props to them for doing the research that is like so important to advancing science. So as a bio major in undergrad, art minor, and then there are 4 master's programs in North America that do medical illustration. One up in Toronto, one in Chicago, one in Georgia, and one in Baltimore. That's the one I went to, Johns Hopkins. So I applied to one of those programs, fortunately got in, and that gave me like 2 years of basic training in, medical subject matter. So I did anatomy courses alongside medical students there. And then also applied projects where I was learning, basic illustration techniques, starting from, carbon dust and pencil drawing, but applying it to scientific subject matter. So learning how to work with content experts and how to have an academic discussion and, tell these complex stories visually, as at the same time as learning these techniques. So starting traditionally, and then eventually we shifted digital. So, Cinema 4D was like a course that we took, and like
that's
basic
cool.
animation in After Effects was a course that we took. And like my first After Effects animation was about, pancreatic cancer, and I actually had watercolor paintings of pancreatic anatomy that I was animating over. And then my first Cinema 4D project was like this cell crawling on a plate, that sort of thing. So it was always this mix during that training.
It's so interesting, like, especially because you're learning all this biology stuff. It's like you've got such an intense background knowledge of this, but animation is so different.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like
2 parts
for me,
of your brain.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's like, you're gonna
maybe not.
Maybe
I'm
kind of similar.
Yeah.
Maybe not. We don't know.
I don't know. It's like you kind of learn the language and then you have to apply it. So, I learn all the basics of cell biology, but all my clients I'm working with, the stuff that they're doing isn't in the textbooks. It's like I have to learn new stuff, because usually when I'm illustrating or animating something, it's something new. That's why they need a visual. It's not something that we already knew.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So, and I think, animation and stuff, it's similar. You get the basic language, and then you have a specific project that comes along, and you have to figure out how to apply it. So I think it's sort of similar in that sense.
Let me ask you a question. Have you done any, say any Mograph jobs outside of the medical field? You know what I'm saying?
Not really. So I've always been very science focused. I think it's because I come with that science background. That's usually what gets me into something. So sometimes I'll be out in science outside of medical. So people will come to me and they're like, we have this new nanomaterial. And it's a group of scientists, and they need to explain this to somebody who can like hang with them and talk with them in a conversation. And I bring that skill set where I'm like, okay, like I'm comfortable asking questions when I need to. It's like maybe I don't have the background in your topic, but like I can hang in a conversation and be like, okay, I didn't get that. Can you rewind? You know, what was that? Okay. But I have like a few points of reference that I can bring to the conversation and have a conversation with them and create a visual effectively.
Yeah. I was just curious how like the like how how much different your clients are, say, versus like an outside of the medical field, like the ones that Dave and I are doing every day, you know?
Yeah, I don't think your clients are like, can you make the
can you make the logo bigger?
Can you make the nucleus bigger? Because it's not accurate. So
well, sometimes they are. Sometimes they're like, can you make it like look different? And I'm like, well, and it's actually kind of surprising how often, like, there are a lot of scientists that they understand things conceptually, but they, like, medical illustration, you're always like, how does something actually look? Like, so it's my, like, I'm constantly trying to find references for how things actually look. And that's not really the inquiry that most scientists are doing most of the time. That's not their main question. So they might understand conceptually how a process works, but they have no idea what it looks like, or they don't really actually know what the cells that they're working on look like in 3D. They know what they do, they know how they function in disease, but how they look like isn't a question that they ask. And it's something that I have to come in and, you know, bring my expertise to.
Is it always like scientifically accurate, or do you ever do something that's more metaphorical?
Yeah, more artistic.
Definitely.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, like we made the logo bigger in order to accent this, you know, we made the nucleus bigger, you know, or whatever.
Yeah, I'm playing with that all the time because, you know, I'm doing a lot of molecular animation and illustration. And, you know, if that was completely accurate, I would like zoom into like the cellular level to show molecules, and there'd be water everywhere and you wouldn't be able to see anything because there'd just be water everywhere, right?
Right.
Never mind the fact that we're at a scale that's so small that like you wouldn't be reflecting light, like, you know, the fact that anything looks like anything is the first lie. So, you know, I think it's really important to like understand all the context of like what the actual scale is. There's actually water everywhere, and then very selectively pull out the stuff that's not important to still tell a story that's still true to the science that we know, but then communicates effectively.
Were you doing like lots of Corona renders right when all of this hit? Did that become like a thing?
I don't know if you can see that. I can't like point.
Oh,
see that picture back.
You got a nice. Is that Scientific American?
Yeah,
nice.
So the July 2020 issue.
Nice.
Yeah, I was really excited about that. So that's why it's back there.
Nice.
Nice.
So I guess you did. Did you get tired of making Corona renders?
Yeah.
Yeah, a little.
Yeah.
So like right at first, like I remember like NAB time was about April. Everybody's like, "Are you illustrating viruses?" I'm like, "No, my clients are all still panicking and going like, you know, we don't even know how to work remotely yet."
Right.
Yeah.
But then like throughout the year, everything just shifted. And so, you know, I did that piece for SciEm, which also included this entire like explainer 2D set of graphics. And then there's a lot that came on from that, because you'll get clients who are like, "I saw you illustrated a virus for Scientific American. That means you can draw viruses. We have a virus we need you to draw." Like they kind of assume that like, there are other clients that are just like, "Okay, you must just specialize in drawing viruses." And I'm like, "Not really, but okay, yeah, I can do that for you."
Yeah.
So.
And you can tell it's legit because you called it SciEm.
Yeah.
You're definitely in the industry. So when you draw, okay, like let's say a molecule, and this goes back to the conversation about representative things. Are there times that you get down into the nitty gritty, like let's say every piece of the molecule, or sometimes you're using like a sphere to represent something? Like are there different magnification levels that you deal with in that aspect?
Yeah, definitely. So like sometimes I'm just creating, you know, a schematic pathway that's, you know, this molecule activates this molecule, but it's like that relationship for like 50 different ones. And if you showed each of them in like full-blown detail, you're just going to have this like monster graphic that nobody can understand. There's just like too much detail. So in that case, those molecules, they're like a little shape and a label, like that's it. And it maybe shows you in a cell where they are, that kind of thing. But then there are other times where I'm working with a researcher that's just discovered the structure of a molecule in like really like high detail, so angstrom level resolution. So that's like a tenth of a nanometer, and a nanometer is one. It's really small, so it's 1 times 10 to the negative ninth, and I couldn't tell you what, like, it's really small.
Right.
So submicroscopic. So they've gotten like really high detail on this molecule, and they want to show exactly all the little interactions, between individual collections of atoms called side chains and things like that. And there I'll get really nitty gritty, and that's really important to their research and, to the point of their publication that's going with it.
Mm-hmm.
It really varies.
Okay, couple questions. Number one, do you sometimes laugh at the drug commercials that are on TV when they try and show something? Is it like, that's not how that works? Or...
Well, so like with the drug commercials on TV is like they're consumer focused. So it's like whenever they're like trying to make a metaphor and like, again, communicate to people who have no science background. So if they manage to successfully like communicate basically what it does to somebody who has no science background, then like that's a successful visual. Like whether or not it's 100% like accurate, or if it's like a little goofy or metaphorical, it's gotta be right for your audience, right?
Yeah. Like the guy who's like this sideways, and like the red.
Yeah.
Do you ever have red going down from your head to your stomach? I hate when that happens. And then the yellow and the green means it's working.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Do you ever see anything that's just like so ridiculous? It's just.
There's like, it's a lot of times, just like what, sometimes like a researcher has tried to cobble something together in PowerPoint, and it looks like, really crunchy. But then there's just a lot of stuff when people hire somebody who doesn't have the science background to do something, where they'll kind of mess up and like get a brain backwards perhaps, or like show an elbow joint in the knee. Yeah. So that's a common one.
Like turned around backwards?
Yeah.
Oh.
So they'll have like a silhouette of a head, and they'll like put a brain in it, but it's backwards.
That's funny.
That's funny. That's really funny.
And then they'll like be like, oh, we're going to zoom in on this knee joint, and it's like, it's an elbow joint that they put into somebody's knee, and you're like, oh. So
have you had anything that's really funny? Like, for example, Matt and I did work for Preparation H a while back, so you can imagine how that goes. Do you have anything that's like that?
Oh goodness, I haven't worked on anything exactly like that. I've done some like research for some like gross things like colitis and stuff, but nothing like hilarious. Like that's just kind of fun. Like that's a little funny. I mean, I'm sure it's a product that people need, but it's also funny. But fortunately, I guess because I work on a lot of the molecular level, I don't often end up on kind of that goofy level of anatomy.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, there was, I forget exactly how it was worded, and I told Matt I was going to frame this client feedback for him at one point, but it was some hilarious feedback about the anus and the lines coming from the anus,
right?
And it was
like the emanating lines.
Yeah.
Like, can we make those more pronounced or something like that?
However,
it's so funny in this industry. I've gotten some really weird emails. Like I had someone who wanted to he pretended to throw up, and he needed like a liquid sim of him vomiting, and so the email back and forth is, okay, cool. Yeah, I can do that. Do you need it like chunky vomit, or do you want it clear vomit? By the way, this is my favorite email I've ever sent.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. I think the best feedback I've gotten, I just had this like little animation I was doing that's showing like nerves firing, but I was working with this micrograph to start with, and these so the nerves were like little bodies with these like long like processes, and so I had like a little bit of light with a trail coming behind it for all these, but there were like maybe like 20 or 40 of them that I was working with, and then like the client feedback was like, could you make it look less like sperm? And I was like, oh, I see it now.
You can't
unsee it. Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah. What was your
really
favorite
funny
thing to work on though over the years?
Yeah.
Oh, I really like working on viruses, honestly. They're a really fun research project, just because they're kind of at this level where they're between molecular and like other techniques. So when you observe them with a microscope, you kind of get a sense of what they look like overall, but not a ton of detail. So you have to fill in all this other information from molecular studies. So it's sort of this like really deep research dive that you have to do to kind of patch together what a virus looks like in molecular detail. Well, as best we know, because like the science is always updating. So like this illustration behind me of the coronavirus, like as soon as it was published, it was already wrong. Because the science is always updating. But that makes it like really fun too. So yeah,
that's interesting.
What would you? Sorry.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
What
would you say? What would you say you use the most in a project like this? So like in any sort of medical animation, what would be like the number one thing? Like, do you use a lot of cloners? Do you use a lot of metaballs in cinema? Like, is there like kind of a go-to tool set for medical?
Cloners like all the time. Just because I need so many instances of things. And then after that, the volume tool. So like it used to be like I would try to hack at things with metaballs. Like, the volume tool set just like has made my life for the last couple of years. It's great.
Sure.
So that I would say, but it's like I feel like almost every project I do, I'm like, it's a cloner somewhere in there.
Yeah.
I can imagine trying to do something like, I don't know the terminology well enough. Mitosis or something. Mitosis? It's where they separate.
Yeah, it's when the cells divide.
Yeah,
like you could see that as metaballs, right? But I could see how that would be easier to do in with volumes. That's about the extent of my knowledge from 7th grade.
Yeah, because like I tried to hack at like those kind of effects with metaballs for so long, and then like the volumes tool sets came along, and I was like, yes, this is great. And so I've been doing all those with volumes since then.
Nice.
That's cool. How what are, I don't know, it's like, how are your skills as far as like modeling and stuff, you know, or like sculpting? Do you sometimes have to sculpt certain things, you know?
Yeah, so I do a bit of ZBrush, and I used to do more ZBrush, but like occasionally I'll have like a particular cell shape that I want to do, and I love cracking open ZBrush and like sculpt and stuff. I don't do it like that often. I kind of wish I had like more opportunity to, because it is fun just to like get in there and squish around digitally. And then like I do some like modeling of like, you know, like a medical device, stuff like that. So it's just kind of like whatever the project calls for.
Richard in the chat was talking about EPVM, and I think Eric Small talked about EPVM.
EPMV.
Or sorry, EPMV. Sorry, that's hard to say. Eric Small talked about it, I believe, on the show as well. What is that again?
So it's the Embedded Python Molecular Viewer.
Of course.
Duh.
Yeah.
Come on, Dave.
Yeah.
What it lets you do there's scientists, basically they figure out the 3D structures of molecules and they deposit them into this database called the Protein Data Bank. And it allows you to take that 3D information and load it directly into Cinema 4D. So I can tell from that exactly what the structure of, say, the virus spike is if scientists have figured it out.
Gotcha. That's cool.
Yeah.
So this is something we were talking about earlier, and I think is really interesting, you know, because so as we all get, you know, more accustomed in our field and stuff like that, we're able to communicate so much better with our clients and stuff. And, you know, you and I, we were talking about your diploma on the wall, you know, and that brought up an interesting conversation about, you know, it's one way to be able to show off to your clients who are, you know, doctors or, you know, medical people, that you kind of, you know your crap, you know what you're talking about, you know?
Yeah. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. That's it. I mean.
Yeah, it's just kind of interesting because like I work with a lot of people who, you know, have like the most advanced graduate degrees they can, MDs, PhDs, and they're working on this science that's been their baby for like years. And they want to make sure that when they communicate it, they get the details right. And they can be kind of anxious about like bringing in somebody else to help communicate it, because they want to make sure that you understand it so it gets communicated right. Because I'm sure they, they see science news articles where they read the headline and they're familiar with the science underneath it, and they're like, well, that's, not right. Like that science writer didn't get it right. Or they see a visual, describing science they're familiar with, and they're like, that's not right. So I think they can get kind of anxious about working with an artist. So one thing, that's kind of why I have the diploma back there, so they know, okay, this person actually has like formal training in science. Like she's not just somebody who happens to come along and I'm going to have to explain everything to her.
Right.
She has some background, like she'll be able to like understand my science and communicate it correctly.
And the fact this is all you do for the most part.
Yeah.
Where it's not like they're hiring someone like me who does like technical stuff, and could probably make some of that stuff if I had a reference, but like I really don't know what it is. And that I'm the type of person they wouldn't want to work with. So, so it's got to be comforting to know that the person you're working with is an artist, but also specializes in that particular field.
Yeah. And I mean, and they'll get it like once I start talking to them and they realize like, okay, like I can tell that this person has, like, even if they're not familiar with our particular cutting edge science, she's got the basics. She's talking our language.
So it's something Richard in the chat saying, I face that issue all the time. I'm always the most uneducated person in the room, which I think it's funny, but it's
maybe
like
not uneducated, but undereducated on the specific topic.
Yeah. And it's like, how do you, with clients like that, how do you portray or like instill a sense of, confidence, in your ability to turn their idea into art?
I mean, I think a lot of it's just having the conversation and being like, just practice talking with clients like that, so that I come across with confidence to them that like, okay, I've done a project like this before, this is how it usually goes. But then also talking them through the workflow, like that there's going to be a sketch that you can look at and make sure it's right. There's going to be a draft you can look at and make sure it's right. And then there's going to be a final and you can make sure that that's right. So you're going to have input at all these stages to make sure that it's going the right direction. And same thing with animation, you're going to have, we're going to talk about that script. We're going to talk about the storyboard. We're going to talk about the style frames. We're going to make sure the narrator pronounces everything right. You're going to have a draft animation to look at, and then you're going to have a final animation. We're going to hit all those steps, and you're going to have feedback at every one of those stages.
Yeah.
I imagine.
So do you said you sketch them out. So do you draw everything before you even start going into cinema or anything?
It depends. So sometimes like the projects are really straightforward and I'll just like start on the computer. Sometimes like the client, kind of has a fuzzy idea of what they want, but they're not sure. So I'll just start with like pencil sketches, concepting. With animations, definitely always start with storyboard. So I'll draw everything out to make sure, like, are we including everything? Are the shapes about right? I might go straight into cinema to like bring the molecules in, just be like, and, just plunk it in my storyboards, be like, is this the right shape? Because, we're going to be using the data anyway. And so I'll do the research and, pull up the molecule structure at that stage. But definitely like sketching it all out to make sure we've got the right plan, just because they've got so many potential edits that they could have.
For sure.
There's
go ahead.
There's
Dave.
so many people that I think would want to get into this industry that might feel discouraged because they don't have that background, and that's understandable. And I'm wondering, is there a way, if you don't have like a ton of medical background, to get into this? Because obviously there's people who are doing it who don't have the degree, but I can imagine that trying to get into this as a freelancer is harder than trying to get into this as somebody who works for a company, right? Like, let's say that you feel like you have the skills to make good medical animation, but you don't have the educational background. If you got a job working at a facility that did medical animation, you'd probably like you'd osmose, if you would, some of that information, maybe without that background.
Dave's using all of the medical.
You like these puns?
He knows.
Yep.
So there's something about being around people like that where you're going to learn everything, and over time I could see that you might get pretty good at it, especially if you're good at picking up just random information like that. Some people are really good at like absorbing stuff like that, but if you're a freelancer, what are you going to do? Are there any steps that you can take if you want to go that route?
I would say if there's maybe like a larger like medical animation company that you can like freelance with and contract with, because a lot of the like slightly larger studios that do bigger animation projects, like Mad Microbe does some really cool work. They work with people who don't have the complete science background, because they've got a team of a science director and creative director, so that they can make sure they bring somebody in who maybe doesn't know all the science, but they know animation or rendering, and they can bring that person to work on that part of the project. And through that you could potentially learn more. So that's one way I could see as a freelancer. I think there are some people like in the medical illustration animation field that came from an art background. They didn't go to one of the graduate schools or there are a couple undergrad institutions too that cover similar topics. Like they didn't do that, but they kind of filled in the science afterwards. But it seems like it's a really steep uphill climb to get in, because the nice thing about having those grad schools, it's a network. You know people, and people know you and are familiar that you have a certain basic foundation of familiarity, so that if they refer a project to you, you've got that basic foundation that they're familiar with. Yeah. So it's hard to get in, I think.
You need a mentor.
Yeah.
Or somebody that you could work with, or somebody maybe that could like hit up you and be like, hey, I would love to work in this field. If you have anything you need help on, maybe that's a foot in the door, right? Because there's a lot of people out there that can, like me, who consider themselves technical animators. People don't know me for my particular style or like my for fun work, because I don't do a lot of for fun work. It's just a lot of for the meal stuff. And so I'm one of those people who has a hard time coming up with things in the first place, but I'm very good at executing an idea that's already there. And so I'm wondering if there's people that consider themselves technical animators that would actually maybe be really good at doing this stuff. They just don't know what to do. So I'm wondering if there's a good pathway for people who want to find some mentors or some other people in this industry.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, I think check out the Association of Medical Illustrators and, look to see if there are people that make sense to connect with, and just, talk about what your skill sets are. And, one thing, so I'm like currently a solo person, but it's like something I'm always like tinkering with is like, what can I bring in other people to do? But I'm terrible at delegating so far. But I'm always like thinking, I'm like, I really need to be more than one person, because a lot of times I've got this fire hose of work that I'm trying to handle singularly, that it'd be great if I had some consistent, helpers and contractors with. Right. And now I feel like I might regret saying this to, an audience of 30,000 people, but
you can get a bunch of emails now. Yeah.
Right. But I think that could be a way in, and it's like something I've considered doing but have not done successfully yet, because I'm terrible at delegating.
Delegating isn't easy.
That's
for sure.
It's not.
You gotta let go and hope for the best.
Exactly.
But, once you find the right people, though,
How is it, so you're just a freelancer, or like you run your own company, right?
Yep.
Yourself. How is, I don't know, of all the medical illustrators I've ever met, in this industry, they normally work for a company like Mad Microbe or something like that.
Yeah.
How different is that working for yourself versus, working for a specific medical company? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I would say there's way more variety, I think, because like once you're within the larger company, those larger companies they have very like streamlined processes for taking on like certain kinds of really large projects. So it's, almost always for like big pharma, it's always like a really big client. It's usually animation. And it's like always molecular, cellular, like there's a certain kind of project that they almost always do. And then they'll do anatomical as well. Like I don't want to completely railroad them, but versus me, like, I might be working directly with researchers, or I might be working with a smaller biotech company, or I might be working with a big pharma company on a project. or I might be working on like a science related project that's not exactly medical. So definitely more variety, I would say, is like one of the biggest differences. And then of course just all the overhead of having to know your science, know your art, and also know your business on top of it.
How do you bring in clients? Like how do you advertise and stuff like that? You know, like how much does the demo reel get you versus like actually, because yeah, for us it's like, okay, I throw out my demo reel and they know I'm a somewhat competent animator, right?
We haven't thrown a demo reel out in years.
We
it's
haven't,
all
no.
word of mouth
No,
now.
we're not very confident in the past couple of years. But how, like, because you've got this background, you know, you've got this, you know, untapped knowledge that does not come, you know, isn't shown necessarily just through a demo reel, you know?
Yeah. It was, so for me getting started, mostly networking, but also like sharing my expertise. So I didn't kind of realize I was marketing until it all kind of like turned out for me. So before I launched my company, I was working within a research lab, and I was working like just on molecular subject matter. So I was on this like really deep dive that even within the medical illustration community, you know, I had a lot more experience and time to work with scientists on molecular subject matter than a lot of my peers. And during that time, I also like wasn't super busy at work, honestly. So I was sort of like always trying to fill in my time. And like, so every year we had a medical illustration conference and I would come up with some presentation to talk about molecular stuff or cells or something, just to share some of the knowledge that I was getting from being in this sort of specialized environment with my peers. So, you know, sometimes I just do like a little technique demonstration, like sculpting cells in ZBrush, or, you know, doing this thing with molecules in Cinema 4D, or sometimes I'd get up on the stage and do a big talk about like, how do you research this kind of topic? Or like, you know, what things should you consider? And like, I was just doing it kind of because I was bored at my job. And then, and just because like, I like to learn by teaching other people. It's like, okay, if I teach this, then I know it really well.
Absolutely.
So it's kind of my like, oh, I want to keep learning and making sure I know things, and I want to share this with my community. But then once I decided to launch my own company, like everybody in the medical illustration community that like attends those conferences, they knew what I was good at.
Right.
I had been up in front of them like year after year talking nerdy, and they knew that's the nerd I need for that project. So, and then it's also, you know, just every year going back and like talking to people so that like they know who you are. Cause like, you know, when I refer projects, I feel more confident when I've like met the person and I know they seem like a competent individual, that they could like handle kind of the soft side of it, not just the art and the science, but like, you know, handle this client, like respond effectively, and, you know, just all that soft stuff that goes with the project. Like I feel better like referring to somebody that I know. So for me, the network, like the marketing was it's just networking, which I think is just expanding your potential for luck. The more people that know you exist and know what you're good at.
I like that saying. Yeah. Expanding your potential for luck. Because I feel like sometimes some of the jobs we get are just extremely lucky.
I was talking to Rev about this the other night, actually. We were done playing Halo, and it was just the two of us sitting on Xbox chat, right? And we were talking about the whole freelance life and all of that, and that topic actually came up. We were talking about the fact that you start out, right, and you're getting the little jobs, and you're getting, you know, oh, this is a $1,000 job, then I'm getting the $2,000 job and the $5,000 job, and you're expanding your client base during that time. And what happens? You start to get those what ifs. Oh, there's a lead. This might be a $50,000 job. Oh, and you're let down. It doesn't happen. Oh, this might be a $20,000. Oh, you're let down, and it doesn't happen, right? But over time, as you start expanding the possibility of one of those big, what do you call them? You know, the
big fish.
The big fish. You know, the big fish start appearing, and all of a sudden, that $20,000 job, you don't get your hopes up anymore, but then it happens and you're like, oh my gosh. But that's a great point.
And
you're
then
expanding...
a $50,000 job comes along and you're like, oh, I probably won't get that. Oh, but I got that one. Oh, here comes a $100,000 job. I probably won't get that. Oh, here comes, oh boy. Now you're way busy.
And you might have had nine $100,000 jobs that didn't happen.
Right.
Or didn't go through or something, but you got the one. Right. But that's such a great point that you made. Like you're expanding the possibility that one of those people is going to say, hey, and all of a sudden you've got a good gig. Yeah.
I'm gonna keep that in my vernacular from now on because I really like that saying.
Yeah. And it also
the possibility of luck.
It takes the pressure off like each interaction, because I think a lot of people get psyched out about networking. They're like, all right, I'm going to this conference, I've got to connect with people, and each one could be a job or something.
Yeah.
It makes you so awkward and you like stressed out about it. It's like, no, just meet people, talk to people, like talk about your shared interests, which is probably, what you do, science and art or like motion graphics. And then that person, they exist, and that's really all you need.
Yeah.
So
how big is the medical illustration industry? And I can assume that within that there's so much more specialization, specifically 3D versus like 2D,
Yeah. So I can talk to kind of like the Association of Medical Illustrators, and I always wonder this, how many members we have, but it's I would say it's between 500 to 1,000, somewhere in between there.
Okay.
Definitely not more than 1,000. And that's talking about mostly people in North America. I'm not as super familiar with scientific and medical illustration abroad. There are definitely medical illustrators who are members of the AMI that are from different countries, but I would say most of the membership is based in North America. But that's just the people who are members of the AMI. And there are also, I think, a lot of folks who do it, both scientific and medical illustration, that are outside of that. But then again, it's still not that huge. A lot of people still don't even know we exist. And we're kind of these rare unicorns a lot of times to people.
What is the requirement for joining? Did you have to meet certain requirements?
To join the AMI, no, you can just join as a member and learn about it and start, using the resources and connecting with people. I am a certified medical illustrator, so that there's an exam for that, and it's sort of, board certified. So.
Yeah. What's the process in that? Because I think that would probably be a goal for somebody, possibly. Okay, let me ask you this. If somebody doesn't have the educational background, could they possibly pass that certification if they were in the industry long enough?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. It would be harder though, because that, again, that's that nice thing about those grad schools, is they give you that foundation that will prepare you exactly for what you need to know. So the certification, it's you have an exam both on medical science, anatomy kind of information, because we're coming from this legacy where a lot of medical illustration was anatomically and medically based. So you'll have a written exam on that. You'll have an art portion. So I remember we actually had to draw in an exam, which was a really weird experience.
Yeah.
And then business practices as well. And then you pass that exam, and then you have to submit a portfolio of 20 pieces that you've done as a professional. So I took the exam right out of school, but then I had 2 years to put together a portfolio as a professional that covered a variety of subject matter. And they had a couple different things. You had to cover a process or things like that. And then you can submit your portfolio for review. So there are people who are certified that did not go to, one of the formal programs, but it's a lot harder to do. But then that certification also gives you a structure of things to learn, to to work for too.
What kind of business practices do they talk about?
So things like, it's been a while. I think a lot of it's intellectual property, copyright, licensing, things like that. In addition to, project agreements and, making sure that you set your scope correctly with your client, things like that.
If there are patents on certain things, are you allowed to illustrate them? It doesn't violate anything, does it? If say somebody has a vaccine and that vaccine is patented and you're showing it. Is there any red tape in that?
Yeah, so there's like a lot of stuff that I do that I can't share. And it's just that they've got a new technology and they're like, we don't want you sharing this. I'm like, okay. And that just happens a lot. It's, it's new, their new technology. It's part of the licensing. I'm like, okay, you've got this exclusive commercial license. You can do whatever you want with it. I'm not going to share it. Or if it is something that you've been public about, I'm going to ask, hey, can I highlight this project? And they are absolutely free to say no. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff that I work on that, isn't public information yet, or, it's just very exclusively licensed to that company.
Now, as far as your own company, going off on your own, tell us a little bit about that process.
Yeah, that was nerve-wracking. But it was something like I always knew I wanted to try it. And, I had like my previous position, which was like really great. I was learning a lot, but at a certain point, I plateaued. I wasn't learning anything new really there. And that was, I think, pretty frustrating for me. So I was like, I really want to start learning new things. And I'd always considered running my own company. And I was like, okay, well, right now I'm like young, unattached. I don't have like dependents. Like now is the time to try. And so like around 2017, I finally, made that jump. And at first, I had like nothing to do. I remember somebody asked me, oh, you're going freelance. Do you have like a couple projects lined up? Like, yeah, surely if you're going freelance, you've already lined something up. And I was just like, nope, just I'm just going and I'm telling you about it. So here's hoping something happens.
Tell your friends.
Yeah, exactly. So, and for the first while, it was like really slow. One thing that I did appreciate about that time though, is like I had worked a lot with scientist to scientist communication. So a lot of my work was like really dry and it was like really one style because it had been for like one client.
Sure.
So I was able to like create projects for myself in that time to like, create more art that was more what I wanted to do.
Nice.
And then I could put it into my portfolio and then a client could look at it and know to ask for it, which was really important. So eventually things picked up and, at first I had, so-so clients, the ones that would kind of like wheedle me on the budget every time. But then eventually I just got busier, kind of got better clients. So like the ones, the clients kind of filtered through and like I kept the better clients and like moved away from like the clients that were always like bugging me on budget and things. And and ever since then it's just kind of picked up momentum.
How much of your work is recurring clients? Because like I'm thinking about it, it's like with some of our work, we've got a few clients who are constantly creating these explainer videos or, doing a new version of the same video over and over again, but like if how many of your clients are actually recurring, it feels like there would be either not as many or a lot,
or maybe because, more spaced out because research takes a while.
Yeah, it really varies. So I have I'd say maybe, okay, just off the top of my head, I could probably go into like my time tracker and tell you exactly how much my time is recurring and whatever.
Right.
Off the top of my head, I'd say it's like 50% recurring. So there are ones that are infrequently recurring, like, working with certain publications or like art directors of publications. And then there's ones that are like a communications agency where they specialize in working with, new biotech companies. And all the time they're launching a new website, working on a corporate deck or whatever that they need visuals for. So that's all under one client, even though it's like a bunch of different clients that they are working with.
Gotcha.
And then there are a lot of just one-offs, and that's really the scientists who are like, okay, we're publishing, on this, and we really need a visual. And that might be the one time I work with them, or they might come back again in like 2 years, when they're like, oh, we're publishing again because we finally finished this thing. And those are just kind of the random one-offs.
Interesting.
Now,
I think your field is like just fascinating.
Yeah, it's so
like
different.
I'm a big fan of biology, as it is, like I really enjoyed. It was the one class that I still think about every day in college, that I took in college, is it was like I was the best student in my biology class,
Yeah.
I was not in my lab. No, I was the worst in my lab, but
Well, that's fine. We don't need you to be in the lab, so you should come to the dark side.
So, but I think the medical illustration, it's so interesting. It's so interesting.
Yeah. Are there any things outside of medical that you do? Like, do you ever feel like you want to do a short or something like that's like just completely off the,
I mean, I feel like a lot of times I want to play around with like abstraction and stuff, because a lot of times as I'm tinkering to try to get a very specific biological effect or something, I'm like going through these stages where I'm like, figuring out how to make something look like X, Y, Z, and I'm like, I just want to like play around with like these materials or this look or this like effect.
Those would make some good dailies.
Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
So yeah, So sometimes I think about just kind of abstract stuff. And honestly, when I was in undergrad, I was doing research. So I was like actually doing microscopy of different cells and things like that. So I was like supposed to look for where certain proteins were as these cells developed. And there were these like muscle cells. So they went from like all these little separate cells, and they would like fuse together to form these like long, muscles that like actually contracted in a petri dish. So I was, looking at them under the microscope, and like I would take the pictures that I needed to see like where the proteins were, but then I'd like go around the edges and find places where I'd like jabbed it with like tweezers, and it just like had folded up and looked funny, and took pictures and stuff like that. So yeah, I've kind of always enjoyed that, like just all the abstract biological shapes I end up playing with.
What would be the dream project for you?
Yeah.
I think something animation where I could, build a molecular scene, and like I think building molecular scenes, building viruses is something I can kind of dig in and research, and the client would give me a ton of time to do that, and like, and just build it in full detail, that kind of thing. Because I really enjoy doing the research and nerding out about that side of things, and troubleshooting like how to show it.
How much research is involved with each of your projects?
It really depends.
and do you have to build that? I'm assuming you have to build that into the budget,
I'll be back. Couldn't make
right?
It. I'll be back.
Oh, you're fine. Go.
It really varies. Like, so, sometimes the client that I'm working with isn't actually really familiar with the science. So when I was doing, like, say, the coronavirus cover for SciAm, like, they're not virus experts. Like, they had somebody to kind of review the work, but that person wasn't necessarily a structural biologist, which would be somebody who knew exactly what things were shaped like at the molecular level. So, I had to do, like, I had already done a lot of research on it anyway, just because it was like an emerging topic, and I wanted to stay familiar with it. But there was probably like 20 to 30 hours of research that went into modeling that virus.
Wow.
Versus other times, I'll be working on something, and like I'm working with the foremost expert on it, and I've got my basic background, and they just kind of fill me in on all the details, and I don't have to do a ton of research. Just kind of what things look like, because they're probably not focused on that. And there's like a little less research involved there, and it's definitely built into the budget. Like every time I look at a project, I think complexity is kind of that little factor I'm working on there. So
interesting. Where do you, and like, what type of research is it that you do in order to create art,
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, it's a big variety, and I think the most common research that I do is in the what things look like vein. So I'm like trying to look for microscopy references. So, again, I'll just use the example of the virus because it's easy. It's like, what does it look like when we look at it with an electron microscope? And there are different ways that you can look at it with an electron microscope. And then, when I was creating that illustration, we hadn't looked at the most current, like this SARS-CoV-2, which is the coronavirus, COVID-19, that causes COVID-19. but we didn't have any great images of it yet. So I had to look for related viruses and be
Okay.
like, okay, what do those look like? These like close cousins, because they'd been more carefully studied, right? So it's like digging for, microscopy references and then filling in, there's more specialized ways of looking at molecules really close. So X-ray crystallography, cryo-electron microscopy, like looking to see what references there are for those. And if there's neither of those, like, are there papers where people have written what they think they look like and things like that.
Have there ever been one where they're just like, we don't know what this looks like?
Oh, all the time. All
Wow.
the time. Yeah. So I'm constantly having to kind of bridge gaps. So I'm always saying like my visuals are like current to what we know now. And it's like,
I like that. Yeah.
as soon as I finish them, they're wrong. Science is never done. My job is never done.
Right.
So, which is like, you just kind of have to get used to it. And I'm like, that's fine. It's like, I get to just keep learn new things all the time.
That's cool. That's very cool. So what do you do for hobbies?
Weightlifting.
Okay. Nice.
Baking.
Nice.
So.
One
All
to
right.
balance
Really
out
good
the
things.
other. Is that the?
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
So,
That's funny.
yeah, just kind of, I like getting moving. So.
Yeah. Yeah. Is that
That's
good
awesome.
I imagine that's good for stress when you're working. I know it is for me to get out and
Exactly.
run
Yeah.
until I
would
can't feel
say-
feelings anymore.
Exactly. I'm like a pretty intense individual when it like comes to work, and I kind of can get myself like just like in the zone, and like it's good to just go and lift heavy things. It like resets my brain,
Right. Go and do some dumb things, right?
Yeah.
Things that don't take any
Yeah.
any
Pick it
mental
up, put it
stimulus at
down.
all. Right.
Now,
So-
I've thought about, like, it's easy to get out of the house and, like, go ride a bike or go run during COVID, but when it comes to weights, either you have, like, a personal set or something. Like, if I wanted to go start doing some, benches, some maxing out and stuff, I don't have the equipment here. Do you have, like, a weight room or a workout room?
Yeah. We were lucky, like in 2019, we picked up a barbell and plates and some squat stands, and they're like squeezed into our laundry room. So I have to like lift in a nice straight bar path so I don't hit like my washing machine. It's also our utility room. So we have like our shelves of like just random house crap too. So I just have this like narrow little space that I have to work with, but it's just, I can do squats, I can do deadlifts, I can do overhead press, the basics. So
Nice.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's funny. So, with a medical background, so me, I'm a big hypochondriac, and I having just a little bit of knowledge makes it that much worse.
yeah. Yeah.
Does do you ever deal with that? I guess.
Yeah, I end up researching things pretty intensely, and when I have like a question about something, like I'm going into like the primary literature and citations and like, okay, my doctor told me this, but is that really actually up to date with current research? Because sometimes there's a little break between current research and clinical practice, and then sometimes your clinicians aren't as up to date as they should be.
I'm sure your doctor loves you.
Right.
Yeah.
I try so hard. Like, even if I read a little blurb, I try so hard not to bring it up at the doctor, because I feel like any doctor that hears, I read this on the internet, is going to instantly judge me.
Yeah.
It's a hard thing to thread, and it wasn't really an issue for me until recently. Like I had a health issue, and I like went through like several doctors, and like was like, they were giving me this diagnosis that didn't make sense to me, and I was just like, and finally I had been holding back. I'm like, trust your doctors, they're a professional, they went to school for this, they know what they're talking about. I finally like dove into the actual literature on it, and I actually found diagnostic guidelines from like the Association of Endocrinology, which is like, the actual board that these clinicians should be like learning from, or like from that association, and like, was able to compare my blood work to like what they had published. And I was like, oh, like my doctors have been making the wrong diagnosis, and like it's clearly this other thing, but they weren't up to date on it. And I was just lucky that I had that literacy to
Right.
find that literature, be able to
Yeah.
read it,
Yeah.
make sense of it. And most people don't have that medical literacy. I was just lucky. And
Absolutely.
I mean, it's really hard because most people, if you don't have that medical literacy, you go Google things, you're gonna end up
It's
getting
always
pretty
cancer.
misled.
Yeah,
it's
it's always
always-
so it's
cancer.
cancer.
Oh, you got a scratch
Right.
on your arm? It's cancer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was probably like 10 years ago or so. I woke up with like just horrible stomach pains, and it had happened a couple of times. And I'm searching on my phone, going through WebMD, looking at all my stuff, and I was like, I start reading about gallstones, and I was like, this sounds like what it is. This sounds like what it is. So I called in sick. I went to the doctor. I told my doctor, I said, I think I have gallstones, right? And he's like, no, you probably just got food poisoning. 8 years later,
okay.
ended up in the hospital twice for gallstones,
Yeah.
So I was right that whole time.
I think it's good to have a little bit of knowledge on the subject, but you got to take
Mm-hmm.
the internet with a grain of salt.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah.
You got to know
Yeah.
what's good and what's not good. And I think that's one good thing about my research background is like I can go onto the internet and get good information about
Yeah.
medical stuff. And I
Yeah.
know, like, I can kind of be like, okay, that's a good source, that's a bad source, like that sort of thing, which I don't think everybody has that skill. So that's a little, it's a little dangerous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know how the sausage is made.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's always dangerous. Yeah.
It's always dangerous. Yeah.
Hey, I got one link for you this week, and that's it. Just one link.
All right.
All right.
All right.
And that is bubblehouse.com.
Bubble House.
And this is just, I've been hearing some ramblings about this, and I haven't actually tried it myself, but this looks kind of like an Instagram-y type app that is for motion designers, but I think what's cool about it is you can actually show, how the sausage was made. There's like sliders and things on it that allow you to show off your work, allows you to do like rotations, to do sliders, to show like, I think there was a good example of it somewhere. I wish I could find it. Maybe it's here at the beginning here. You can see how this example here,
right,
you
right.
slide
Yeah.
it across. Have you ever seen like an already been chewed reel or something where he does a little line slidey thing and
Behind
shows,
the sauce.
yeah, behind the sauce, showing like the wireframe and then doing an overlay. This kind of looks like that, except you can do this on it. So imagine you're in Instagram and you could slide over something
Yeah,
and
that's
see
cool.
the wireframe.
That is cool.
Kind of like that. You
Yeah.
can show stages. So,
See the process. That's
Yeah.
neat. That's super cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's why it's nice to have that just so clients don't panic when you send the first pencil sketch and they're like, is this the
Right.
final?
yeah.
Right.
No, it's not the final. Don't worry.
Yeah.
It's all
Yeah.
good. Yeah, that's the only one I have.
They say, yeah. Is this not good enough? Oh.
Yeah, I
this
sketched it
isn't
out
what
2
you were-
inches by 2 inches. That's
Right.
good, right?
Yeah, it's all good. Pay
Yeah.
me.
Right.
Let's move to some Mograph recommends. We're gonna ask you some of your favorite things
Mm-hmm.
in the universe, and these could be something that is recent or of all time. A lot of us have our staples, our all-time favorites. I'm always gonna say I love The Simpsons. I'm always gonna say that I love The Office. But there's recent things too. For example, I am enjoying the 4th season now of Halt and Catch Fire, which I didn't know existed until recently. I thought they had canceled the show. So
even
our
know that.
questions for you are going to be, you can give either of these answers. It's something you like in general or something you've been watching lately that you like. And we're going to start out with your favorite movie.
Yeah, I would say all time, The Dark Knight.
Nice.
Yeah, because I feel like I watched that at like just the perfect time. I was like in high school. I had just kind of got into all the Batman comic books, and so I like watched Batman Begins. Kind of got into all the comic books, like where they were pulling from, all the different like stages that Batman has gone through all years, and just like all the different takes, like from like the original campy Goofy to like Frank Miller's like super dark,
Yeah,
and stuff like
yeah.
that. And I like really enjoyed a lot of the comic books that Christopher Nolan and like that whole team that they were pulling from to create The Dark Knight. So I feel like I was just at this like perfect prime time to appreciate it. And then it was just a really good comic book movie. And then ever since then, I've been like, oh, like it'd be great if there's another movie like that, but like they're not trying to ever make a movie like that ever again. All the comic book movies now, they have a very different formula. So yeah, it was like a really good time for me to watch it, and yeah, I really loved how it was done and just how tightly it was written and just how well done it was.
Absolutely, yeah. It's the last that trilogy was the last good DC movie in my opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I tried to watch Wonder Woman 84, and it was beautiful. Like all the special effects are cool. And I'm like, but could you just pay writers a little bit more to come up with like something like you're making it so beautiful. Can you make what it's built on just tighter and invest more in thinking about it?
Yeah. I feel like that's one thing that Marvel or Disney has over any of the DC movies is that the writing is just stellar.
Yeah.
Yeah, but even with the Marvel movies, I think they're hitting like a certain like formula. They're like, this many punchlines per minute, this many action scenes that you go ooh ah, and like they like Mad Lib the action scenes, right? So they're like, we're gonna have insert this character, do a flip over this character, and they're like, okay, check, okay, put it all into the machine equals money, and like that's it.
Yeah.
Question mark profit.
Yeah,
I saw someone talking about the Marvel movies and how, they're not technically superhero movies per se. Like, for example, like the Endgame was a heist movie, and some of these other ones were like detective movies or something, So while yes, they're still using the Marvel characters, they're technically a different type of genre.
Interesting.
I don't know. Thought it was interesting.
Yeah. I mean, if you end up making that many movies, it's kind of probably good that you expand.
Right. I agree.
So.
What type of music do you listen to? In front of projects and not in front of projects?
Okay. So not in front of projects when I'm trying to get my kid to sleep. Barry Manilow's Copacabana. Just dance to that.
That's funny.
Kid goes to sleep. Or that was like for the first month. And then my husband was like, we can't listen to this anymore. We can't.
What's totally like stomachable are the lullabies that are based on popular music.
Oh.
Look for those on like Spotify or something, because it's totally like you'll hear Lady Gaga, but it's like sounds like it's a xylophone and like little.
Jewel
kids.
has an amazing like nighttime album for kids. Like,
gosh, I'm taking these notes. Hot parenting tips.
Jewel, we lived off of Jewel for my first kid, like he'd hear like the first few notes of the song and he would throw a fit because he knew that was going to knock him out.
Yeah, it's good to have something that works.
Absolutely.
Well, They Might Be Giants have a lot of kid stuff that they've done as well.
Do they?
That? And like, didn't they do the hot dog song on Mickey Mouse? Wasn't that them, or is that somebody else? It was a popular band.
I don't know about the hot dog song. I don't know about that.
Hot dog song. I gotta Google it now. Hot dog song. Mickey.
My
this
1
is
year
where
old.
all of a sudden your viewership just drops off.
Right. Or goes up.
Ooh, I found a YouTube video that is 1 hour of the hot dog song, just over and over and over and over again. Yes, They Might Be Giants wrote the hot dog song and the Mickey Mouse Clubhouse song at the beginning.
All right.
They wrote all of that.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, they've done a lot of kids. They've done a kids album. So
that's funny. Yeah. That's interesting.
Yeah. So I guess back to the question, like in front of projects, I feel like usually classical or like trip hop, like not usually anything with words to it too much.
Yeah.
And then when I'm working out, I usually like rock of different kinds. Dorothy, Meg Myers, Alice Merton, some of my favorites, kind of like female-led rock groups.
Cool.
Now we covered movies, but what about TV shows?
Great British Bake Off.
Oh snap! That was instant. All right.
Yeah, didn't even need to question that. That's funny.
So,
all-time favorite.
You're into the baking shows, so are there any other baking things you like to watch?
I feel like everything else is just pales in comparison in terms to like just I feel like I got into baking because of the Great British Bake Off. Like my husband and I like watched that, and then we just kind of got into baking because of it. And then everything else is just it's a little too American reality TV, you know, where everything's like super dramatized and like every person has like a super dramatic backstory. Like I'm here because like my dog has cancer and I need to win this prize money to cure my dog's cancer. And like, you know, they're like crying behind the scenes about their dog's cancer. Like, I'm like, I don't really need that. Or it's just kind of like over the top flashy and they're like, you're gonna make this much money. And I just love how like chill the Great British Bake Off is. And they're like, we're just doing it because somebody's gonna win, but we all still like each other and help each other. It's just also warm and fuzzy.
I need to watch that. I need to watch it. I've heard nothing but amazing things.
Have you watched? Is it?
I'll be right back, Dave.
Zumbo.
Zumbo.
Yeah.
Zumbo's Just Desserts, I think.
Yeah, that's the one it's Australian, right?
Yeah, and it's I guess Adriano Zumbo is the guy. I like tried to watch one episode, but it was just like too much. Like they've got this like over the top set, and then
the set is ridiculous.
Yeah, and I'm like, it kind of hurts my eyes to look at this. And then the kind of bakes and cooking they were doing, I feel like it was more stuff like that you wouldn't be able to replicate at home. That was like just like too like molecular gastronomy techniques, and then it makes it a little less fun. I think if you're watching it and you're like, like with the Great British Bake Off, I have this illusion that I could try to do it at home, at least, even if, you know, sometimes I've gone to do those things. It's of course exploded terribly, you know, there's at least this illusion that like I could do that.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I imagine I might be okay with it because I've had quite a few hours in front of the TV watching some of these shows, but I have yet to try it. So yeah. Let's see what happens when I try and actually make a cake. Maybe I'd be better off going to pick one up at the grocery store, but
you should always just give it a try at least once. Explode your kitchen, see what happens. It'll be fun if nothing else.
I'll leave that to my girlfriend because she's got she's the one who's going to school for it. So I think.
Oh, that's a little intimidating. If you've got like a pro in the house, you're like, I don't want to mess with it.
Yeah, I'll let her handle that. Let's see. Next on the list. Hey, we didn't hear from Kevin.
We didn't hear from Kevin. That's okay.
He must not be listening
today.
We
miss you, Kevin.
If he was here, I'm pretty sure that he would say that Breaking Bad and The Wire are some of his favorites that he'll never stop talking about. So.
Yeah, living in Maryland, have you watched The Wire? It was based in Baltimore.
I still get this question. No, it was funny. So when I was going to grad school in Baltimore, I was like telling people like, oh yeah, I'm going to like go to grad school in Baltimore. And like the summer leading up to grad school, everybody was like, oh, have you seen The Wire? And I'm like, no, like, should I watch The Wire before I go live in Baltimore? Probably not. Like,
it might change your mind about wanting to go to Baltimore.
Right. And actually, Baltimore, let me just say, is a great city. Like, everybody, like, it's always like, oh, Baltimore, it's like the city where The Wire happened. And it's a great little city. I like it a lot more than DC. It's a lot less pretentious. You know, so I'm just going to plug for Baltimore here and say it's not all The Wire.
Yeah. What about podcasts? Do you have time to listen to podcasts? And if so?
A lot of times when I'm cooking, I'll listen to podcasts, and it's usually like NPR and like Planet Money, kind of like stuff that kind of covers the news with like a certain angle. Like I enjoy hearing about economics and stuff like that.
Right.
So.
Plug-in? Besides render engines.
Yeah, this was something. This was actually something I meant to ask earlier. Was do you do any like particle simulations or anything like that? Like, do you ever have a need to go to X Particles or even Houdini or something like that? You know?
Yeah, I've actually just started using X Particles, and I probably should have years ago because like as soon as I started using it, I was like, oh my god, I'm a moron. Why did I not get this? So yes, that's part of it, definitely. So X Particles, I'm still getting up to speed on. EPMV, of course, my favorite plugin. It's always like a little in danger of going extinct. It doesn't work in the most current Cinema 4D right now, so I still have R20 installed on my machine, so I can boot that up to like run EPMV. Hopefully it gets updated, but there's just like one guy who kind of like updates it on the side, you know. So there are a lot of people are like, Can we throw money at you somehow? Do you want to start
Yeah.
Patreon? Like anything to like keep this supported, but that hasn't quite been figured out yet. But I'm
Yeah.
like, take my money, keep it updated.
Right.
Yeah, there's so many plugins like that I just they're always the stragglers, right? And you've always got them loaded in the last version. I even do that with Forester when I first get a new version of Cinema, because it's either not available or I just need a tree and I need to just go grab it real quick, and I don't have time to wait to send them my registration and my email and wait 2 days for them to get back to me. But there's always those plugins that you have to go back to for and maybe like sort it out and then mix it all down as geometry and then open it up in the new version so you can,
Exactly.
What about when you're on your phone, muscle memory, favorite go-to app? What are you always in?
Right now, I've got this app that tracks when my kid naps and predicts when he's going to nap again.
That's hilarious.
Which is
hilarious.
power
Does
right
it
there.
work?
Yeah. Does it work?
It does. Because, like, I feel like, okay, so when they tell you, like, they're like, okay, kids, you can tell, like, babies, you can tell when they're sleepy, but, like, not overtired. So you want to hit that sweet spot where they're tired but not overtired, and they have all these little tells. I would blow past that every time. Like, I could never tell. And then my kid was, like, crying because he's overtired now. The app is like, okay, he's woken up from a nap. He's probably only going to want to be awake for, like, an hour and a half because he's about this old. It says, okay, dum-dum, put him down for a nap now. And I'm like, oh, okay, great. I'll go do that. And, like, I do that before he gets cranky. So that's, like, super helpful. Other than that, I really like Twitter.
Other than that, I really like Twitter.
How about TikTok? Have you been into TikTok at all yet?
No, I have not been. Like, people keep sending me
careful.
links. I'm like, I feel like this could just, like, melt my brain and suck my time. Like,
It will.
You know,
Absolutely
it will, but for some reason I don't mind it. I feel like it's replaced putting on mindless TV instead.
Yeah.
So I don't feel like it's a time.
It's like
not. I'm not
it's like
wasting
channel
time.
surfing, right?
Yeah.
1 minute at a time.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But it's nice when
Nice.
you're like, okay, I got 5 minutes. I got to wait for this render. You can just open it up and flip through it.
Yeah.
You know, take a break, something. It's a little bite-sized things for somebody who's very busy or has like a weird broken up day. It's kind of a good way to get in a little bit of entertainment. You know, if you don't have time to go sit and watch a movie or something.
Yeah, they've started adding more time to certain influencers or whatever. Have you noticed that? Like they're allowing people to upload like 5 minutes at a time.
more
And
than
I'm
a
like,
minute,
oh,
yeah.
please don't do that. Please don't do that. I love the 1 minute ones.
Well, that would
I
be
think they're
fine
great.
if you could skip through it, but you can't
Right,
forward or rewind.
right,
So it's
right.
like either you're going to sit
Right.
here, and then what happens if you don't finish it or you get interrupted? You got to start over.
Or your kid grabs your phone and accidentally swipes it up, and you're like, now I got to start that whole thing over again.
Yeah.
That's the worst part.
Let's see. Video games. Do you ever play video games?
Yeah.
You have the
So last year I was like stuck in the house due to the pandemic, and then also like super pregnant, so not really wanting to move anywhere. So I revisited video games. I hadn't like played them since high school, but then I heard about Skyrim on a random podcast, and yes, I know Skyrim is like really old, but my husband dutifully like loaded up Skyrim on his computer, and I got to like play that through like 2020, and it was really sad. I liked like running around outside in Skyrim. It was great.
Oh, it holds up. And there's all sorts
Yeah.
of texture packs to make it look pretty and
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
that. Yeah. You just got to get past the 45-minute intro and you're good.
Gosh. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tell me about it. I've never gotten past the 45-minute intro. I've made my character, and then I've been like, oh man, I'm so bored now.
Right. Well, so I get through it. I'm like, just like, I don't play video games, so I'm just like crashing through it, and my husband's just like laughing at me, and I'm like, why did I just die? He's like, you were standing in fire. That's why you died.
Oh,
And I was like, what? I don't know what I'm doing.
my
And I'm
bad.
My bad. That's funny.
So yeah, it was a humorous 45 minutes. It probably took me like an hour and a half to get through that intro.
Yeah. I got my wife into Animal Crossing at the beginning of the pandemic. She still plays it every single night, you know.
Still?
And at the still, yeah.
Wow.
And it's funny because she was very bad at it at first. Like she'd tried to enter a door, and she'd be constantly just be hitting it with her net over and over and over again, and we'd laugh and laugh. It was so funny. But now she's like expert at Animal Crossing.
No,
It's
maybe you
good.
can get her into Halo.
Yeah, no,
she
that ain't-
picked
that's
that
not gonna
up.
happen.
You
Nah.
sure? You never
Yeah.
know. Like she might play it a little bit.
I've
be
been
like,
playing Halo for like what, 6 years, 7 years, and I'm still not good at it.
Well, everybody's different, you know?
Right.
Maybe she'll pick it up and realize she's good at poning noobs. You never know.
I guess. All right.
I keep telling my husband, I'm like, let me play PUBG. I'm sure I'll do great.
Yeah. Yeah, there you go.
That's like adult Fortnite. That's what I call it. Adult Fortnite.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, Amy could come on and pwn some noobs with us on our late night chat.
Yeah.
I think
We'll
she
see.
could do it. Yeah.
We'll see.
That is it, except for the very last one. This is the tough one. This is the
Yeah.
one that Mitch Meyer's example. This is a life hack. Mitch Meyer's example is you turn the toaster on its side for some bomb-ass grilled cheese. Now, your life hack doesn't have to be like that. It doesn't necessarily have to be something gimmicky like that. It could be something very, I don't know, economical. It could be something very, very, what's the word I'm looking for?
I don't know. Just something about life.
Productivity hacks, you know?
Yeah.
Something like that. Do you have any hacks for people?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I would say weightlifting is my hack, my life hack. You know, keeps me sane. It's also just like good for your health, bone health and everything. Yeah, I like it more than cardio. But yeah, just like helps keep me sane. You know, it's something simple to do. It's, you know, keeps you healthy long term. So it saves you money, you know, if you're healthy.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
That's good.
Cool. All right. Well, we've gotten through that, and so I'm thinking that it's time we start switching gears to the NFT world a little bit. What do you think?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, you ready to do the drop?
Almost. Hold on.
Your
Let me
notes
do
out there.
I got to get my notes out.
Okay.
Gosh, I got too many notes.
I've got to do it too. I mean, we got to do an intro, so you got plenty of time.
Let's do it.
All right, let's go. Here we go.
The drop.
Is this the fucking mic? This is exactly what I should be doing.
What's up, and welcome to this week's episode of The Drop, your weekly source for all things NFT and crypto art, as well as upcoming drops by notable people in the Mograph industry. I'm Matt Milstead, joined by Dave Koss and Veronica Falconieri Hays. See, I said your name. I nailed it that time. I nailed it that time. Yeah.
Who doesn't have much NFT background, so please feel free to ask questions. Joining us from the podcast portion of the show.
It'd be interesting to see some medical NFT stuff, you know? I don't know.
Interesting.
I'm like, I feel like some people must be getting into it, but like, I feel like all this NFT stuff has been ramping up again while I was like on maternity leave, and I'm like, I'm not sleeping at all, and I can't tell what's happening on the internet right now. It seems crazy. I'm gonna put the phone down.
Yeah, that's smart.
It's
especially
all right.
if you're
Nobody
already
else
not
is
getting sleep.
either.
Yeah, I know. It just that's what it's like. Getting into NFTs is like having a 1-month-old, you know, or 2 months old. You just don't get any sleep because you can't sleep because all you're thinking about is NFTs.
Yeah,
right.
They're like your babies.
Yeah. Hey, before we get into the major drops, could we talk real quick about the Beeple drops this last weekend?
Yes, actually, that's what I was gonna say.
Okay,
like,
good.
Speaking of not getting any sleep, I didn't get any sleep the night before Beeple did his last drop this weekend. So he had a drop Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And I couldn't sleep because I was too excited about it, you know, because I had a plan. I was hoping that people would not notice because starting Friday, going through Sunday, he had one piece that was going to the top 100 bidders. And I was like, oh, I could bid like $10,000, get a Beeple piece, and then turn it around for like 50, you know? And so that was my plan, you know, but I was like, I don't want to bid immediately because then that sets the bar, you know, so I'm going to wait it out until Sunday. So I waited out until Sunday, and then the lowest price was like $35,000. And I was like, okay, no, there's no way. Because the thing is, so say you bought one for $35,000 and you were going to sell it for 40 or 50, because that's about what they were going for, the ones that people got, you know, for $1 or whatever. That's about what I think they're going for nowadays. These lots of the Beeple pieces are going for about $40,000 to $50,000. So it's like, after fees and everything, you take a risk on whether or not you can even sell it. But, you know, anyway. So that's neither here nor there.
So have like the values kind of again, question coming from
Yeah, no.
outside. Have the values kind of crashed out on any of these things yet? Because
They
so I know,
have.
like,
They have
Alright.
quite a bit. So, I am the most lucky person in the entire world because I sold my Beeple piece, right at the height of the Beeple mania, and that was the day before his
70 mil.
Christie's drop.
Mm-hmm.
Right before the day before his Christie's drop, I sold mine, and I still believe I think that mine, out of all the open editions, mine was like the second or third highest price that someone has paid for a Beeple, like an open edition, not a single edition. Because the single editions, they've gone for like 6 million, but I sold mine for 195,000.
But
so
this weekend, though, such an interesting
man, it was
variety
This weekend was rough.
Yeah.
I'll tell you.
Yeah.
Like for his drop, it's like, so one, you had like, what was it, four editions that were 100 and they were giveaways, but two of them you had to answer quiz questions based on his everydays, which they weren't even based on his everydays. They were just stupid questions.
Yeah, they
right?
were
Shocker.
very.
Yeah, I know, right? So
Yeah.
they were kind of like, they were just ridiculous questions. And so we're all on Discord together, and you've got 45 minutes to answer these questions. So at some point within that 45 minutes, someone has already uploaded all the answers to Twitter.
Of course.
And we're all
Reddit,
freaking out because we're like, we got to get it. It's going to take us 45 minutes. And literally it only took us a couple, to figure everything out. Shout out to Phil, because Phil was the first one in the Discord to get everything right and then let us all know. But still, you had 80,000 people enter, and it's like,
nobody got anything.
Yeah, no one that I
we
know
knew of.
got anything.
Yeah.
That we knew got anything.
Then an hour later, you had another one, and this was
an hour later you had another one
for
that
1
was
minute.
just like $1. Oh, and it was 1 minute. Yeah, which sucked.
This is my beef. This is my beef because I entered. I was ready to go. I had multiple tabs up just in case because I didn't know if it was going to refresh instantly or if I'd have to hit refresh. Like all the ducks in a row. We're all in Discord, ready to go. The thing just wasn't moving. I had everything ready to go, had the credit card ready, and I hit the button, and I was 2 seconds too late because
I was
too
was
slow.
Yeah,
the website's too slow. It's the website.
I hit refresh, and it took forever to load. And by the time I had checked out, it said this one is no longer available. I was like, oh. It was 1 minute.
Yeah.
So,
and
then he had
incredibly stressful.
It is. It is. It is super stressful. And it's like the first one, some of the NFT stuff when I'm trying to get an open edition or whatever, it sucks. And my wife gets a little upset because I'm like, I got to go upstairs. I got to go and try and get this piece of art, which she understands now that we've kind of sold one for a hefty amount,
She's
but
more
she
accepting
also
of this idea.
still is like, come on, you're taking away time for me, and I get that. So for the first one, it was so stressful. I was like, I'm not doing this again. So the second quiz that came around, I was at the store. I was just like, whatever. And then both my brothers, because I told them about it, they called me. They're like, hey, what's this answer? I was like,
Everybody
I don't know.
wanted the
Check
answers.
Twitter. Twitter will tell you, And so my brother was able to find all the answers on Twitter, and he sent them to me. So I'm just in the parking lot. I was like, all right, all right, I'm in. I don't care. It's like...
I didn't do the Saturday ones either, and of course I get texts from our friend Joe. He's like, hey, can you talk real quick? I'm like, dude, I don't know the answers to the questions. I'm not even doing this one.
And the questions were so weird.
Yeah.
Man, Mike, I'm telling you, money has driven him crazy.
What he's written will be a window into his madness.
Right. It's like, I mean, even that picture of him in the underwear that he posted at the very end, and I'm just like, all right, Mike, I love you, dude.
It's a picture of him in his underwear?
Oh, his poopy underwear. Yes. It's on Instagram if you want to see it. Don't bring it up because that's gross.
Wait,
but
was it an Instagram story?
No, I think it was up on Twitter. One of them got taken down. But,
so it's
yeah.
him in his underwear with poopy pants? I'm so confused. What is this? What is going on?
This was all a part. This was a part of the promo that he originally did.
Okay.
You know, and I guess someone took a picture and he just posted it. You know, but he posted this. It was either on Twitter or Instagram or something. He's like, I know a lot of people had some issues. You know, some bowel issues when they opened up the last open edition boxes and they all crapped their pants.
Right.
Right. So we're including some Beeple branded underwear for you to put on before you open the boxes.
All right.
It's really funny. I mean, yeah, it's funny.
But
it's funny
oh my
and it's
gosh.
also very gross. And you know, I guess that's his brand now.
Well,
is
of
that?
course it is.
So
Of course.
Yeah.
So rewind to NAB 2020. Like
Yes.
this is kind of like my first like Mograph industry conference.
Mm-hmm.
I thought I was going to actually go there, be there in person.
Right.
Ended up being virtual. It did have, one benefit is like we're on like the virtual happy hour and everybody's
totally.
like talking. They're getting excited. They're like, oh yeah, people's presenting. One advantage is I could sit there on my computer and be like, please don't kick me off the podcast. Who is people?
Yeah. No, you're fine.
Right.
Because I
Right.
had no idea. But now
Yeah,
I
and-
wonder if I had gone there and I'd like run into him at NAB and I'm like, oh yeah, what do you do? Like, what would his answer be to like
Right.
the what do you do?
Right. Well, I mean, if you don't know what Beeple looks like, you wouldn't assume that
You wouldn't have asked him what he
is
did. You
who-
would have asked
Yeah.
who he does accounting for.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
'Cause,
And
yeah.
that has also become part of his brand.
It has
but-
become hard.
but
Somebody
it-
on
and
like the
that's nothing-
Today Show or
like-
something actually said that he looks like an accountant as well.
And that's the thing, like up until probably January of this year, probably December when his first drop happened, no one knew who he was.
Well, no, I
and,
mean,
like,
millions of people knew.
well,
but no one in the general public.
Like he wasn't a everyday term, right?
Right.
So my dad was he's living in Hawaii, he's working in Hawaii, and he's got a couple of people that he works with. They were sitting down and he said a couple of these guys are like my age, they're like techie, whatever. And he told them that I got a Beeple piece and they freaked out. They're like, what? And like they actually knew. And these are like architects and like construction guys, and it's like they're talking NFTs. Like
Yeah.
he's a part of the everyday vernacular now.
Yeah.
Especially with the Time magazine thing. I'm excited to get that.
Yeah, and this the lighting and the presentation
Yeah,
of this
the box is really
display
cool.
for these.
Like
oh my gosh, so good.
I really wanted one, but man, they're
Open
out
it
of my
up and you
league
see
now.
Elon Musk's
Yeah.
crotch, but
Right.
other than that, I mean, the lighting, the fact that when you open it, like there's lighting in around the edges of it in
Right.
the inside of the box is so
Right.
cool looking.
It's super cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the physical pieces are very, they add a lot to it. It's so cool. It's very, very cool.
Yeah, and I will say I don't know who did this particular piece because it doesn't look like it's something that what's the company called?
The Gateway?
No, that makes these displays.
Yeah,
Infinite
I
Objects.
mean,
It doesn't look like an
Infinite
Infinite
Objects.
Objects.
I think I'm curious if Infinite Objects works with Nifty Gateway in order to put these things together. I don't know.
I don't know
It's
because
interesting.
well, right now the ones that were with the original Beeple piece are sold out. You can't get them until June, but I will say they do sell the smaller ones with the wooden frame on them, and I've ordered a bunch of them recently.
That's probably why. It's because
Yeah.
he ordered so many of them.
It's
you
such an
know?
easy process though. If you go to Infinite
Mhm.
Objects and you want to do something for like somebody's birthday or something, did this for my dad's birthday, just you get the dimensions, you put it into Premiere, you find a good clip, and you put it in. And a lot of people ask, well, how is it different than a digital frame, right? Where you just load a million pictures. I think it's better because, first of all, it's super small and lightweight. There's no computer, anything involved. It's just a piece of art. And the point of it is you put one specific video in it, just like you would one specific photo if you gave somebody a photo, right? In a frame. And that's what makes it unique, is this frame is just for this one thing. I kind of like that concept, but
Yeah.
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 I don't know. If I'm gonna, I want to display some of the NFTs that I have, but I want to find like a super flat screen monitor that I can hang on my wall to display them, like a 32-inch monitor or 27-inch monitor, one that looks more like a picture frame versus one of the tiny ones. I don't love the tiny ones.
Well, Best Buy and some other places do make frames that are specifically for this that are kind of like TVs, but I think they have more of a just like I don't know. They look more like a photo on the wall. The way that they do the backlighting on it, I don't exactly know how it works.
Is it more like a matte finish almost instead of like a screen?
Yeah. Maybe like a matte finish, and like the lighting behind it makes it. It's almost like it has a sensor, I think, that keeps it looking the same level as something that would just be a regular painting or photo on the wall, and not just a big bright screen.
Right.
The Time magazine cover, by the by, we got the Time magazine cover. This is not everybody, but a lot of people at first were like, "Wait, is this real, or is this just some mock-up?" No, this is the actual Time magazine cover. May 10th, May 17th. I have to get one of these and frame it.
I know.
Put it up. There's so much about this. It's not just the fact that it's Beeple. It's not the fact that it's just NFTs. You've also got the fact that it's literally Cinema 4D on the cover of Time magazine.
Cinema 4D and Octane. Like that's awesome.
It's so epic, and
it's about time the world sees what we do,
what we stare at all day.
Yeah, and it even mentions Octane render at the bottom as well. So it just covers so many bases, and you're like, is this real life? Is this? How can this be real right now?
Meanwhile,
amazing.
Redshift crying in a corner. They didn't make time.
Yeah, but it's okay because it's Maxon and their software is there, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's funny. Veronica, what render engine do you use?
I use Redshift.
Okay.
There you go. See, that'll make them feel better. Yeah.
That's funny. Yeah.
You got.
And a lot of times, really boring stuff. I use just the standard, but Redshift and the standard.
Yeah. That's funny.
Yeah. The render engine is the film, and the camera still made the front cover of Time magazine, which is Cinema 4D. So let's talk about some drops. We don't have a lot.
Yes. So, and what sucks is Nifty finally updated all their stuff.
Oh.
Yeah, I know. Like, they're normally really good about getting all the drops for this week up on whatchamacallit.
Should we
like
just do
early
it? Should we
morning
just
Monday.
kind of give a quick rundown on the fly then, and just
the thing is, what I like to do is I like to go through and see all the artists, and see which one I feel like are actually Mograph artists versus like musicians or something like that.
Right.
And that's not the case. I don't know a lot of these. I don't know anyone in particular, so I'm just not just saying.
You do know some of them.
Do I?
Man, and there's another. Wait, no. This. Where are you getting the times? Because these times are not right up on here. I guess I'm looking at the wrong things.
Twitter. Twitter is the only place that they take forever in order to post stuff.
Yeah, because I'm seeing Fuck Render still listed, but that's from last week.
Yeah, no, that's last week.
Okay.
Yeah.
We just confirmed him on the show in a few weeks, by the way. So
that'll be fun.
I believe on
that'll be
May 31st.
I'll have to apologize to him for poking the bear.
That was
on
funny.
Instagram.
Yeah.
Parrotism, I believe I've mentioned them before. They're tonight, but that's the only one I really knew. But yeah, there's I don't know. If go check out Nifty Gateway's Twitter if you want to know what drops are this week.
Yeah, I guess they need to be.
We don't know anyone.
Don't they know that we get this information on Monday morning? Don't they know?
You know what? I need to talk to someone. If there's anyone at Nifty Gateway who wants to contact us, really honestly, like, I mean, you're kind of an integral part of this show. You should let me know, like, at least a day or two. I would love to be able to put this together Sunday night,
right?
Or even Friday night, instead of like hustling to get it done on Monday morning before the show.
But it's not just for us. Obviously, it's for other people who want to know ahead of time, because finding out the day of the drop is for Monday at least. That's too fast to decide.
It's the thing that I hate most about these NFT drops is they don't even show you what you get to buy until the day of, and you're like, I don't know whether I want that or not.
Yeah,
it's like I feel like you need to like, tease people and be like, this is what I'm dropping. It's going to be amazing. But I feel like they tell everyone not to I don't know.
Yeah, I
don't-
wonder about that because sometimes I feel like people purposely don't show or they'll show a glimpse, which is like, okay, that's
Yeah.
cool, but if you're going to drop 10 G's on something ridiculous,
Right.
you're going to want to know.
I want to
And
know what it is ahead
even
of
if it's
time.
a smaller one, even if it's $500 for that matter, you're going to want to know what it's going to look like beforehand.
Yeah,
This is all a
absolutely.
really interesting psychology experiment. I hope
It
somebody's
is.
taking notes.
Yeah.
It really is. It really is. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, if you get in on one of the drops, like when it's happening, you know, especially one of the open editions where it's like you can buy as many as you want in 5 minutes. It's like at one point I had to give my wife my phone and say, don't let me buy anything, you know, because I had kind of gotten a little addicted to it for a little bit, you know.
It's kind of
And
like gambling, just a little.
it's absolutely gambling,
Which
and I
for
100% have a gambling addiction. You know,
Yeah.
you should see me in Vegas. It is not pretty. I
Yeah.
convince Dave every time we go to Vegas to give us a company bonus.
Yeah, he's
so
Fred
that
Flintstone.
so that I don't have to spend money that my wife will
Yeah.
know about.
Bet.
Right.
Yeah.
So, anyway,
But you do
what else?
You do have one on Maker's Place though that you
I do
you
have
linked
one on
here.
Maker's Place that which one do I have on Maker's Place?
Pascal
Pascal.
Blanche.
Yeah, Pascal
Mhm.
Blanche. It was a really cool illustrator. Like I totally dug the work that this person does.
Mhm.
You know, and Dave, if you go over to drops real quick
Mhm.
on the Maker's Place one, what is it? Is that? Yeah, Urs
Ooh.
Fisher is doing another chaos one. I think it's interesting that Urs keeps on doing these chaos drops where it's like intersecting geometry, you know. I don't know what it is, but like it's weirdly unsatisfying but also satisfying in the same sense, you know. It's like
I'm
especially
wondering,
with
is he taking like flashcards with different words on it and throwing it against the wall and combining the two? It's like, okay, I'm going to draw
it's
some.
the manatee thing, like the South Park manatee balls.
Oh,
where
yeah,
they
yeah,
take
yeah,
two balls and
exactly.
put it together.
For the
Yeah.
what was it for like for the what they're going to talk about in the Simpsons or
On
Family
no,
Guy?
on the Family Guy.
Family
on Family
Guy.
Guy. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like today the first card says lighter and egg,
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Lighter and egg. Okay, let's put those together.
and then we're gonna have model
Walnut.
plastic horse and
Right.
barbell. I
Right.
don't know.
Dumbbell.
Dumbbell. Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
That's-
Wow. And scissors
Yeah.
and random statue. Like, what is going
Right.
on? Yeah.
right.
And then meanwhile,
I
we
don't
know
know.
how the sausage is made, so we're like,
Right. No, that's not art.
rabble,
Yeah.
rabble,
But
rabble.
actually, it's funny because like I thought it was dumb the first time I saw it, but the more I see of these, I'm like, oh, I kind of like these. I want to collect one. You know.
Yeah.
But they're
Yeah.
also going for $20,000 or $30,000.
You can make your own.
know, so, right. I'll make my own
Yeah.
with blackjack.
Yeah. So that's
Let's
it.
see what else. we got.
That's it. So now we're in
that's
community.
It, yeah. Yeah, community drops. Dang it! I lost my stuff. Drop list. Is it the drop list?
Brandon Parvini would be the first one.
Oh gosh, you know what, Brandon? I'm sorry, Brandon. I didn't respond to your message in Slack, but I do want
I
you to
did.
know that your work is incredible. Like
Yes.
this is so
Ooh.
good, right?
Mhm.
And I feel like this is the quality that I love to see in NFTs. Like I don't know. I think Brandon Parvini is one of the best in our industry. Like that is gorgeous right there.
He's somebody we
You
need to
know.
have back on the show. It's been a little while.
We do.
Yeah.
We absolutely
A
do.
lot to talk
Yeah.
I love seeing all these artists just like set loose. I feel like the NFT thing is like crazy. It's, you know, super stressful for a ton of people and like this complete experiment, but it's awesome to see what people are creating in the
Right?
name of NFT.
Uh-huh.
and it's brought
Right.
so many artists to the forefront. And just if you're if you're not collecting, if you're not really doing all of this, there's so much that has been gained in the world of learning about artists and learning about and even making connections.
Yeah.
And late night Discord chats and talking to people. I mean, I have been so slammed. I did my NFT and I'm back to regular business as usual, doing other stuff.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
feel like I know so much more about artists right now, and not
Yeah.
even
And-
just like Mograph artists, but other artists coming from other areas.
normally like we would go to NAB or we'd go to SIGGRAPH, and that's where I would get introduced to some of these artists,
Right.
you know, but it's like, it's been nice that these NFTs have been around because it's given me a chance to, you know, for me to recognize their art as well as, you know, which is awesome. It's awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, Brandon's work, awesome. If I had money, I would buy it in a heartbeat. So let's see who else we got. Garrett Appleton hit us up their email. Has a drop on Hicken Tunic. Is that how you say it?
How do you say it? I don't know how to say it.
I like to say hyuk, because that's when I look at that.
Yeah.
I say hyuk. That's exactly how it sounds to me.
How do you say it?
I don't know.
It's not heistnuk. It's
Hitiknyuk. I don't know.
Need lessons here.
Come on,
this is
people!
gorgeous.
If you're starting a website, come on, you got to think about marketing here.
Yeah, I
no
feel
one
like.
can even.
Yeah.
Yeah, I posted a bunch of stuff on Hitiknyuk. How do you spell that? I don't know.
I don't know.
Right. I still don't know how to get to this website. I'm like, where are they?
Right.
HICET. Is it okay? Here's my question.
NUNC.
Is this a word in another language, or is this just a random?
Hitiknyuk.
Does it mean something in another language, or is this just random?
Yeah, I don't know. It's like someone just smashed their face against the keyboard, and they're like, "This is what a website
make that
is."
NFT art, like Breadface blog.
XYZ. Right?
I just tried to Google it and it autocorrected to chicken NFT. I don't think that's
Okay,
it.
2 people have said it's Latin for here and now. I would have never guessed that.
all
I
right.
would have guessed that this was. I don't know. I would
We're
say
such
it would...
Philistines. We don't know Latin.
Right.
Yeah. Well,
Dave, do you want to go to this link?
yes, this is absolutely beautiful. I love
Yeah.
this. It's the
Garrett
texturing
Appleton.
is fantastic.
Yeah, and the audio that goes along with it is really good too.
Mhm.
You know, for those who are just watching,
What's
you
the
know,
face
go check
on
it
the
out.
bottom? That's something from. Isn't that
I don't
an
know.
artist?
I think it's just a smiley face.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Very
cool.
pretty.
I like
Very
it.
Pretty.
Yeah.
Cool.
Next up, we got VJ
Anomaly.
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 Jeez. VJ Anomaly. That makes sense.
Fellow Dallasite.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
He even has the
Oh,
same
okay.
name as you.
What? Matthew? I think it's Matthew,
Yes,
right?
Matthew.
Matthew?
Matthew.
Matthew.
There you go. Which one is this one called? There's technically 2. I think he has 2 of them up.
Yeah, but this one he just posted, and he hit me up on Instagram. He's like, "Hey, can you talk about this on the drop?" And I said, "I've already got you on the list."
Yep.
You know.
Mm-hmm.
And so this one comes with when purchased, actually comes with an interactive one as well, which is pretty cool.
How does
So,
that work?
I have no idea,
Oh.
but that's what he told me. So that's what I'm relaying the message.
Well, maybe he can write it in
Well,
the chat.
Yeah.
Or maybe
yeah,
it
totally.
says somewhere. I haven't been paying attention. But I think he has another. I think he has 2 of them. I don't know if I can find it off the bat, but I'm gonna try and do it. Oh, interesting. I thought he sent me 2, but maybe I'm wrong because there's only one here
Maybe.
on Foundation.
Yeah.
I can go back and double check. He's got inner strength. Oh, okay. The other link was just his Foundation link. Okay, so that is the only one. Yeah. Cool.
So, next up, James Ramirez, Fried Pixels. I love. So this is one reason I kind of like this Hyuk website. You know, because you can actually, Hyuk. So I'm gonna call it from now on. It's what I see every time. Hyuk. You can actually
this is so
upload
cool.
like OBJs and stuff like that, and actually be able to interact with them. And I think, like, I love what James has been doing, and being able to like interact with that is so good.
Certainly,
It
this
looks
was
so
done
good.
in VR, right?
Yeah. It was another VR one that he had done, but super duper cool.
Oh man, that's pretty. I love that.
Yeah.
What is it? Yeah. This is on Hyuk.
On Hyuk. Yeah.
Good.
And next up, I think the last one is Gurge Billy Chitkin over on Baker's Place. These ones are good, man. I didn't know he had done these.
Oh.
But he just did some really cool drops. So, but
nice.
yeah, right?
Are these new, or is this something he had that he released? Did he just do these?
I think they're new.
Nice.
Yeah.
I love the transitions. I love like the glitch effects and stuff. That's really cool.
Totally. I like it. I like it a lot. It feels very cyberpunky, you know?
Yeah.
Very lights, camera, lasagna.
That's funny. Now, this is not an NFT, but I would like to say my daughter did an Octane daily this weekend. Yeah, so I was super proud of that. It's one of those things where like over the years we've kind of like done a little C4D here and there, and she's messed with it, but you know, she was playing a lot of, as she does, a lot of Minecraft, right?
Oh,
and
Minecraft.
so we were sitting there building some stuff in Minecraft. I'm like, you would really like to build stuff. Or, you know, it's like one of those things where like nowadays there are artists that are very technical, and there's some people that like they can't model, they can't whatever, but they can totally like set up a scene and they can wrap their head around that, right? So, you know, I was super proud of it because I was like, you know what I think you would like is mega scans. So I just threw that out there, and she made this in Octane at 11 years old.
That's
yesterday.
It's better than I can do.
Yeah, depth of field, all that. Like she understands, like the whole scene. Like if you zoom out, it's very rudimentary, and you know we had this kind of conversation talking about how, you know, it's just about what's going to be in the frame. So just set up the frame. Don't worry about what the rest of the world looks like. We're just gonna do it that way. She's got there's a little bag of trash she has right here, and the statue and the trash can, and this is kind of like abandoned, and it's called Once a Paradise, Now Abandoned. So that's her thing. Yeah,
I like it.
We should do an NFT of it.
You should. Yeah. Up on Hyuk.
I think of the episode of Simpsons with the No Homers Club.
Yeah, the No Homers. Yeah.
But that Homer's in there. He's like, it's the No Homers Club.
Yeah.
And they close the door, and he's like, Hyuk. Anyway. So
I think that's about all we got, right?
Oh, that's it.
So for those just tuning in for the drop, make sure to check us out every Monday around noon. This is the second half of the Mograph podcast. You can check us out on mograph.com. And if you or anyone you know has a drop coming up, feel free to email us, info@mograph.com.
Yeah.
Oh, look who it is. Look who joined us.
Oh, hi there, Matt. See, you're petting your dog there. So I'd stop by and say hi.
What's going on?
Oh man, I need a pet.
Right?
Getting left out here. All I've got is a house plant.
Yeah, Matt, I'm dropping by to tell you to check out the Mograph TikTok. I've been posting a bit there so you can see what I'm working on my NFTs. Yeah, so doing NFTs has really given me a new leash on life.
Oh, I knew it was coming too.
Yeah, but it's hard sometimes to see other people that are doing so well and they're selling so easily. Sometimes I kind of feel like I'm getting lapped. Yeah. My girlfriend's good at this as well, you know, and she's helped me shed a little light on the subject, if you know what I mean, to make me feel better. Getting a little depressed here. She said, you just got to give it time, which is of the essence, you know, when you're living in dog minutes. But she made me feel good. She made me feel better about it. She's a good girl. And, yeah, I'll introduce you to sometime. She's really quite, fetching.
I knew that was where it was going.
Anyway, I gotta go. Bye.
Bye, Dorpy.
Thanks, Dorpy. Thanks for stopping by. Hey, there was one. Oh, the email. We have an email I want to answer before we get going here.
Yeah.
Because it's NFT related, so I'm going to read this real quick. I'm in last week's episode. That wouldn't help. All right. It's funny because somehow I don't know what happened with my markdown. I must have put too many exclamation points. I've got all this like bold things. I think it's trying to interpret my exclamations as markdown. This is from Jack, who says, "Hey guys, love the show, and I look forward to it every week. You keep asking people to write in with topics, and I thought I would give you a try, as I'm not getting anywhere with Maker's Place. I brought some Boss Logic artwork on Maker's Place back on the 15th of March. I want to resell and set the resale price right away. After all this time, it's still pending in the status.
Oh, that sucks.
I cannot change the price as it's stuck. I have reached out to Maker's Place support numerous times asking what the issue is, and they haven't done anything. I can send the email chain of their responses if you want. They've been really abysmal in their support. Oh, that sucks. Literally looping conversation, asking what the issue is, saying they'll forward it to support, even though they are support. Looking on the piece comments, it seems other people are having the same issues as me without any feedback from Maker's Place. In the edition activity, it seems none of the artworks have been resold since the drop, which seems really weird. Oh,
yeah,
that's interesting.
That is
like
interesting.
None of them. I don't know where else to go, as Maker's Place aren't auctioning anything or actioning anything. I essentially have bought some artwork which I can do nothing with. We're talking $999. I was hoping you could mention something so other people who are having the same issue can band together and get something out of this. That's a good idea. Again, I absolutely love the show, love the guests you have on, the insights you have into the motion graphics, digital art industry as a whole. I really think you're doing something special here. Sorry if this isn't in your remit, but didn't know where else to go. Thanks again, guys. Keep up the amazing work you're doing. Thanks, Jack. Really appreciate that. And that suck that you're having that problem. I haven't heard about that.
You know, I had that issue when I think I was selling a David Ariev piece, or I had, I had bought one and then I relisted it and stuff, and it was pending for a while. I think I eventually just I think I was able to change it to like a quick one, instead of like a slow one. I don't know if that even can
changing
change
the
at
gas.
all.
There's no way it would be
price.
waiting for gas fees for that long.
I don't know. That seems like I feel like this is an issue that some people have talked about with NFTs.
There are these weird, kind of stuck issues, and that's something I was going to talk about actually with the Beeple piece. I have a friend. I got the number 8. He's got the number 10, and we both took them off of Nifty and put them up on OpenSea. And it was kind of a nerve-wracking process because you're like, what happens if it just disappears? And one of the great things about the security of using crypto is how secure it is, but it also makes it dangerous because if you make a mistake, it's probably gone forever. And so it's like with the Sunday Beeple piece, you had to already own one. And so my buddy and I were like, well, maybe we should move these over back to Nifty so that we could get a piece, because the odds would
you got
be
like a 1 in 300 chance of getting one,
right? Right,
that's pretty good.
Which Ariev and EJ got nothing when they did that,
right.
So that sucks. But he decided to move his over, and I didn't. Right, back to Nifty, and he sent me a text like 20 minutes later. He's like, "Dude, my art is gone. It's been nowhere for 20 minutes. It's not here. It's not on Nifty. I don't know where it went. I tried to talk to Nifty. He's like freaking out. Somehow he was able to get it back over to OpenSea. But man, moving NFTs around is so nerve-wracking.
Yeah. And
I've been wondering about the infrastructure for this because there's so much hype, and all these sites went from just this kind of offbeat thing to all of a sudden it's this huge thing, and who's running the sites, who's curating this, and all of a sudden there's all this hype and they're in charge of it.
Well, the good thing is that the actual NFTs are backed by the blockchain. That technology is the same overall, but these issues with Maker's Place, with something getting stuck, I feel like that is more of a Maker's Place issue.
Yeah, especially with that stuff being stuck on Maker's Place. That is a Maker's Place issue.
Yeah. And Jack, I really wish we had more answers for you there, but you're right. This is at least a good starting point to kind of put it out there and say, has anybody else had this issue? Because even if, I could understand if you had the issue and they were addressing it, but a website that's this big in NFTs
Yeah.
should be addressing issues like this.
Absolutely.
And if
Absolutely.
they're not, I can't imagine why they wouldn't be, unless there's something they don't know how to fix.
You know,
but-
there's like, so for example, the Blake Catherine piece, the drawing one,
Mhm.
you know, like that one was in limbo for a long time. You know, one of the busts that she did, like that, what the 25 were in limbo for a really long time. Like I think like a month. You know, and I don't know what the deal with behind that was. I wonder if this is something similar, dealing with the blockchain. I don't know.
And there's
the thing
also-
is, like, this stuff needs to be instantaneous. You know, until it's instantaneous and traceable and stuff like that, it's gonna cause all kinds of issues.
And they are like traceable, and so it's really weird. Like,
Mm-hmm.
if I go back and I look at mine, right?
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, I had 2 offers on my piece through OpenSea when it was on Nifty that I never knew about, because I wasn't on OpenSea, but somehow you could see the blockchain. It's so confusing to me.
Yeah, I think so. OpenSea, I think that's like a global offer. I'm not
Somebody put in
100%
a
sure.
global offer for 77 ETH for my piece, apparently, before I moved it to OpenSea. And I'm like,
Jeez.
oh, that would have been nice to know. I might
Yeah,
have gone
that would have
for
been,
it.
because Ether just hit $3,000.
Right.
You know, all-time high.
Yeah.
It would have been a nice payday.
Yeah. What is that?
Like
$231,000. Yeah.
231.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. There you go. Oh well.
Hey, so if you're out there, I'm still interested. It's actually listed right now for 55 ETH if you want to buy it on OpenSea. Yeah.
Well, there you
go.
go.
Pick it up. You know, chump change.
pick it
Just
up.
go get it real quick.
Right?
Yeah.
Someone buy it. Buy it now, please.
Anything else in the world of NFTs we need to talk about today, or is that it?
Nah, let's get out of here. I got client work I got to do.
All right, let's get out of here.
To drop. Drop.
Is this the fucking mic? This is exactly what I should be doing.
And we're back.
And we're back.
I feel like I have to say
Veronica, thank you so much for being on the show.
Yeah.
We
Thanks
really
for having
appreciate
me.
it. Yeah.
I think
Good
we learned
episode.
a lot about medical animation today.
Yeah. Like, and you know, and there's been so many times where I'm like, man, I would love to get into the medical animation field. I feel like there's a lot of, I don't know, like I always saw it as, oh, medical, that's expensive. They got a lot of money, right?
Right.
And I love to get into that, you know, but then you talk to someone like you and it's like, oh man, there's so much more involved than just
Red
saying I
tape
want to
and
get into the
budgets
yeah.
and- yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
oh man, I no, I don't. That like learning about how much is involved, I'm just like, nah, I'll leave it to the professionals.
Save that for
Yeah.
another life.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Come to the dark side, do a lot of studying. You can come over here.
Yeah, come on, Matt. Just go to
Yeah.
medical school real quick. You can
Yeah,
do it
all
on the
right.
side,
Just-
right?
That was the original plan, and then I had to take calculus. And I finished calculus.
What's
I had
calculus?
to take what was it?
Organic chemistry.
No, physics. Physics.
Oh,
And I was
yeah.
just like, nope, I'm out.
Yeah.
Sorry. I apologized to my wife. I said, sorry, you're not going to marry a doctor. I'm going to be an artist.
Yeah, physics hits
I
different.
feel like I really let her down that day.
You have to be really good at math, the maths for that.
Yeah.
I was not.
Yeah. Yep. All right.
Veronica, if people want to find you online on the interwebs, I know you don't like put like a ton of dailies out or anything like that, but you know, you've got a presence on there. Where can people find
Yeah.
you?
So I'm on Instagram at Falconieri Visuals, Twitter at Falconieri V. My website is falconieriVisuals.com. Good luck spelling the Italian. So, yeah, Falcon, IERI. And if you look for Veronica Falconieri Hays, you'll find me.
Mm-hmm. I wonder if I misspell it. Will that get me? It'll probably get me.
It'll probably autocorrect, right? I should
Yeah.
try.
So we'll put all the links to everything we talked about today in the show notes for the episode. Make sure you check us out on mograph.com and all
Yep.
that stuff. Rate us on iTunes. Leave a review. Helps get our ratings up. Subscribe on your podcatcher of choice. Subscribe to our newsletter. It should be going out. I don't know if I'm going to do it this week. I'll probably wait till next because we're lining up some other guests, and I want to get all their headshots all taken care of and things, and put a little mention for the next round of Maxon show which is, I believe, in 2 weeks because, yeah, I've got rehearsals next week. Yes, 3D Motion Show Wednesday 19th. Make sure that you get ready to check that out and hang out on the streams and things. And you can also say you've been there, done that, got the t-shirt with the Mograph logo tee, the Paul Babb Classic Feel the Babb 2020 shirt. Vintage. All of the profits from that go to Doctors Without Borders. Then you got the Render Things t-shirt, hoodie, and long sleeve tee, the That Render is Fire shirt, which you're only allowed to wear ironically, unless you're shams. Yep. And lastly, the Mograph Blandishment shirt, which I just realized when we did the server switch over, it didn't make the cut in the backup.
Oh, no.
I got to make sure I put that back up on this version of the website. So apparently nobody's buying it because nobody's asked where it was for the last 2 months. Funny. So you can get the Mograph Blandishment shirt there, and you can follow us on all the things, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, mograph.com. Check us out. Got a lot of stuff in the works for this year that I think is going to be really fun. So much. And
y'all are gonna be so excited. I'm so excited.
I think we got some fun things we've been working on, for a year or so that I think we can finally start trickling out, and you can see what we've been talking about for all this time.
For 5 years,
yeah. Had to do some courses and things to get a little cash flow to make these things happen. So thanks to our instructors who are helping us realize this vision, because we take what profit that we make off of it and we reinvest 100%. It in the community.
Yep.
And we also put that into advertising and other things. So much thanks. And
100% of the profits of Mograph.com go back into Mograph.com. We have made $0 on Mograph.com.
I have not made a dime off of it yet. Yep. Hopefully that'll change and we get things moving and we can just do this full time, and there we go. I kind of do it full time now, but
yeah, you do.
And Matt can kind of, come to the dark side too, and we can just do this all day, streaming all the time, all the streams.
Yep.
All right. Well, that is about it. Again, Veronica, we appreciate you being on and hanging out with us.
Yeah, it was fun.
2.5 hours of us rambling, and we look forward to seeing you in person, hopefully sometime. If not, can't Mograph.
Bring the baby out to NAB. It'll be great.
Yeah, no big deal. Take the baby to the slots. Get him a couple.
I feel like just pulling the thing, he'll be able to do that soon. He'll have the muscle coordination.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, taking the cigarette smoke, all that stuff. I'm sure it's fun.
Right. Yeah. Nothing like leaving.
Makes you stronger?
Yeah, right? Yeah.
Nothing like leaving Vegas with a hardcore nicotine addiction.
Right.
It's great.
I didn't even smoke any cigarettes. What happened? Oh, now I really want some Virginia Slims.
That's funny.
All right, cool. All right, that about wraps it up, though. We're going to get out of here. Until next time, I'm Dave.
And I'm Matt.
I'm Veronica Falconieri Hays.
Have a good one.
Later, yo.
How dare they?